With your campaign, sir. You want to sit up there with them?
Where? Yeah, like.
Everybody, please rise. Thank you. Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in this decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all of those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Nun.
Here.
Mayor Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Cirillo.
Here.
Counsel Conway.
Here.
Counsel Elliott. Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. First, I'd like to have the acceptance of the minutes 2-1 minutes of the Environment and Flood Issue Subcommittee of July 24th, City Council meeting July 24th, the Ad Hoc Election Laws Subcommittee July 25th and August 1st. I'd like a motion to accept and place on file.
Move approval.
By Mr. Kennedy, seconded by Mr. Conway.
Mr.
We
Mayor,
have a
Mr.
moment of
Mayor.
silence. Mr. Conway?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked for a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Christos Demetrio. Christos Demetrio, 92, a member of a well-known Greater Lowell family, died Saturday evening on August 4th, 2018 at the Lowell General Hospital. He was the husband for 63 years of Christine Economopoulos Demetrio, who survives him. Born in Lowell in 1926, the late George Elizabeth Gullis Demetrio. He attended Lowell Public Schools and was a graduate of Lowell High School in 1946. After high school, Christos entered the United States Army and proudly served his country. Following the war, he came back to Lowell and received a BA and a master's degree from Fitchburg State College. Christos was a teacher and an adjunct professor. He taught for almost 40 years in the Lowell Public Schools, and he also taught at Lowell Technological Institute in the evening division for over 30 years, which is now the University of Massachusetts in Lowell. Besides his wife, he is survived by 2 sons, Dr. Stephen Demetrio and his wife Jan, and Dr. Gary Demetrio. He is also survived by his grandchildren and many nieces, nephews, and friends. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you. Any, well, Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for James Jimbo Laurie. He grew up in the back Central Street neighborhood and graduated from St. Peter's School and Lowell High School. While at Lowell High School, Jimbo played both baseball and football, but it was in baseball where he excelled. He currently holds the record for the lowest ERA in 9 and 7 inning games, both under 1.00. He is also listed among the leaders in strikeouts and once struck out 17 batters in a 7th inning game. Jimbo was employed at Tewksbury State Hospital, the United States Postal Service, and as a cab driver during his career. Mr. Laurie is survived by a daughter, Kim, a granddaughter, Alyssa, and one brother, former City Councilor Marty Laurie, and his sisters, Ann, Peggy, and Patricia, predeceased by his son, Jay, his sister, Eileen, his niece, Christine, and brother-in-law, Francis Hassett. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. And I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Ramon Chung Rivera, who died unexpectedly due to a motor vehicle accident. Ramon was born in Puerto Rico, but moved to Lowell at the age of 4. Chung grew up in Lowell and was educated in the Lowell school system. While in high school, Chung played basketball for the Lowell High School Red Raiders from 1981 to 1985. He excelled in basketball and was a 4-year varsity player. He held numerous records, which he held for over 3 decades at Lowell High School. He was referred to as the greatest basketball player in Lowell's history. He was idolized by many. After graduating, Chung was recruited by the University of Houston, where he played under legendary coach Guy Lewis, who referred to him as being the next Clyde Drexler. He was inducted into the Lowell High School Athletic Hall of Fame in 2006. Chung touched many young lives. He was a basketball coach and volunteered through the city of Lowell in youth basketball leagues. He will be remembered for his heart of gold and willingness to help others, especially young kids, as he was a mentor to many. Chung is survived by his loving wife of many years, Cynthia, his beloved daughter, Kayla and Brianna, and his sons, Raymond and Xavier. He will be truly missed. Thank you.
Any other moments of silence? All right, please darken the chambers. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could I request a suspension of the rules and move item 9.1 out of order? It's really more of a courtesy to a former colleague, Kevin Broderick, who's here representing the
Yes.
petitioner.
Any objection?
9.10, Council.
It's 9.10. 9.10, okay. Any objections?
Oh, 9.10.
All
I'm
right,
sorry.
9.10 is a petition. Wind companies, represented by Attorney Kevin Broderick, request the city convey a perpetual easement to parcel 8 and 9 in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. Are there any questions before we ask for motion? Mr. Broderick, do you care to make a comment?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, city councilors, Madam Manager. We're here, I'm representing Wind Development in the next step in getting a shovel in the ground. We're looking for a vote to authorize the manager to enter into an easement over the buildings that will be occupying lots 8 and 9 to connect them, to facilitate the development. Essentially, last two hurdles are this, and then variance with the ZBA in 2 weeks on the 27th, and hopefully get approvals for the funding by the end of the year, close, and shovel in the ground the first of the year when it warms up a little bit.
Any question by any council? All right, I need a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation
So move.
by Councilor Malinazzo, second by Councilor Noon. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I support this. I support it from the beginning to get this back on the drawing table into development, so we can see some real life construction going on over there, which is good. I just had a question. What's the time frame? I know there's still another number of hurdles, as well as to get some assistance from the state through the form of tax credits, but shovel in the ground is approximately.
Yes, I think the goal is to have the funds for closing, state funds, and close by the end of the year for this round. So there's a meeting September 10th with the state, and would like to be shovel ready to get to that meeting and obtain the financing through the state, and then close by the end of the year, and probably as soon as it's ready to begin construction at the beginning of the year, probably March, April timeframe.
That's exciting. Is there something that we can do as a body to contact the governor or to contact the agency, or is it it's a competitive process? And hopefully, fingers crossed, that we're in good shape to do that, to support this project.
Yes, Madam Manager.
Thank you. Through you to the council. This is through DHCD, the tax credit process.
Correct.
The city has indicated support for the project.
Great.
It is going through its normal round of approvals, but we are on record supporting the project.
Attorney Panagiotakis.
That's correct. That's a correct summation of where we're at right now. As Attorney Broderick said, if there's a second round of tax credits going in September, we're hopeful if we have all our permits in place that we might be able to get awarded at that point. That being said, as Attorney Broderick said, November, December closing time, we could do a soft opening sometime around there, but serious construction wouldn't start till the winter's over.
Thank you. I'm going to support this wholeheartedly. It makes a lot of sense to continue to move forward with this project, and thank you for the information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion? All right, the motion was passed.
Mayor,
Yes.
since we
Councilor.
under the suspension of the rule, I want to take the motion 10.10 out of order.
Do we need a roll call on this first?
I don't believe so, no.
No?
Roll call necessary.
Well said.
You're all set.
Councilor?
Thank you.
Councilor Noon, you have about 8 to 9 speakers. I just prefer to go to do the public hearings for us, if we can.
That's fine, if that's the case.
Otherwise, it'll go into the public hearing time.
Okay, that's fine
It's
then.
7 o'clock,
All
okay?
right, thanks.
But I'll recognize that immediately.
Thank you.
But I'd like to extend the suspension rule to have Mr. Van Peck come up and speak about the water festival, if the group feels. So moved by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Cirillo. Mr. Peck, welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilor, City Manager, City officials. We just wanted to come here, invite the city council, city administration, the audience, to the Water Festival this Saturday, August 18th. The event is all day at the Samples Pavilion in Lowell. It's our 22nd annual event. I think to me and to a lot of people, it's pretty much a mini folk festival. There'll be food there, there'll be merchants selling their wares, live performance on the stages. So it's going to traditional boat races in the water. It's going to be a great event. So hopefully the city officials and the audience in attendance and the general public can attend. So we want to invite you. Also want to acknowledge my colleague, Gabby Davis, the director of the Water Festival as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Could you give it the times again?
August 18th, Saturday, from like 8 to 7. It's going to be all day at the Boulevard. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I know it's a packed agenda, so we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Council Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to, commend Vant for doing this year after years. This is the 22nd annual Water Festival, and I think the only in the country. And, welcome Gabby Davis for joining the team. And so I, too, want to urge all citizens of Lowell and surround Lowell to join these celebrations. It's going to be a fabulous event. Thank you, Van.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a speaking portion of this event at the Samples Pavilion like they have been every year? Because the district attorney asked me and she would like to be there.
Yes, I did reach out to the mayor's office and the mayor and the vice mayor directly as well. There'll be a speaking portion for public officials and elected officials at 2 p.m. Saturday.
2 p.m.
And we have the governor, I believe, coming?
Yeah, the governor's confirmed to come. Yes.
Okay.
Sure, I'll let the DA know.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Elliott?
I want to congratulate you too, Van Peck and Gabby. This has become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, certainly the biggest Southeast Asian Water Festival, but it's really another opportunity for people to come to the city for a wonderful day to celebrate culture in the city. And you and your committee, I can only imagine, I know how much work and effort goes into it, so I think it's a great way to celebrate the culture in the city and do a great job to organize this.
Thank you, Councilor.
I think it's something that everybody's looking forward to. Any other discussion? Thank you, Mr. Peck. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we're back on schedule for unfinished business 3.1. National Grid requests permission to install sole-owned pole on Eldworth Street for new feeder extension for Markley Data Center. No, there was a public hearing that was held, and we're going to need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation. But Councilor Kennedy?
Mr. Mayor, before somebody makes that motion, last week there was a discussion about National Grid, and I thought that we had arrived at an agreement that matters that pertain to the city or large projects that were ongoing in the city would be left up to the discretion of the city manager. But it's come to my attention that that's a bit ambiguous to some people. So I would like to offer a motion that we just firm that up, that on matters that would be important to the city, such as the high school, or on large projects such as the Markley Group, that the manager would be able to use her discretion regarding the moratorium on National Grid projects.
Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
Councilor Cirillo. Okay.
Could we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Roll call.
Council Newman.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
No.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
No.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right. Any other discussion on that matter? I think, Madam Manager, in regard to that, we also have to be careful about lawsuits. So, am I not correct? If we were not to allow them to continue on some of these projects?
We did provide the council with an explanation of ongoing projects that the city is involved in, and including the canal bridges, the Tiger project, which is underway, and we would have the possibility of the contractor leaving the city, delaying the project perhaps up to a year, and fines would be assessed. For the streets F and G in the Hamilton Canal District, similar situation, because we are in the process of doing those streets right now. If the contract was delayed, we could see assessments of fines. And then the Lawrence Street Bridge is again another project that is happening right now. These are projects affecting the city. Again, fines could be imposed. This is all set forth in the information that was sent to the council. And then, as I mentioned last meeting, the Lowell High School heat upgrade, that's being done and installed, but it will require National Grid in terms of turning on the heat. So depending on how long this goes on, that would be adversely impacted. Lord Overpass design, likewise the same thing. It's scheduled to advertise for construction in September of this year. And we require utility location and cost estimates from National Grid. So delaying getting all this information would adversely impact the Lord Overpass as well. So these are effects to city projects. We also entered into, we also referenced some other permits, grades 2 and grades 2A leaks. So that all that is contained in what I would recommend that we entertain not having the moratorium apply to these specific projects on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. All right, so back, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We said things like the Lowell Canal Bridges, the Tiger Grant. You pointed out the urgency, and we don't want to be sued. There's no doubt about that. We agreed to that. You said the heating upgrade at Lowell High School. We agreed to that. Then we said that we give you the discretion to see what is important to you that should be done. Now we have a whole list long of gas main replacements going into the street. What did this motion accomplish? Because that's mainly what we're talking about. It's not like we're hooking up gas to a new resident that came into the city that'll be a taxpayer here. This is upgrades in the ground that a private company is coming in that's working for the gas company to do all these things. I just met with the union officials downstairs, and that's what we were discussing. And I said, wait till I see what we're talking about, because I couldn't pull it off of my computer at home, and I couldn't quite see it on my cell phone. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what they're coming here for. This is work that our unions could do, but they're not doing it because an outside company is coming and pulling the permit just to do exactly what we're saying here. So I don't know what's left that we can, the motion is like null and void between Councilor Elliott and myself, but I don't know what's left. What did the motion mean? Because they actually have a free rein to have companies come in and pull the permits, and that's just what they're doing.
Madam Manager,
so
could you have some clarification?
We have Diane Trad here who can address the existing, that portion. Are you, Councilor, referring to that portion of the report?
We should have had the gentleman
Claire?
from the gas company here so he could explain it to me the way that.
I'm not sure where you're from.
Well, you're not the.
I'm here for.
Excuse me, you're not registered to speak, are you?
Sorry, what'd you ask? I
You're
apologize.
not registered to speak. Who are you?
I'm here representing National Grid.
Okay.
So I'm not here.
Can you please wait, please, we have city official going to speak. Please, I'll call you when it's necessary.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could, first of all, we've already voted on the motion, and the motion passed 7-2.
I know you did.
Second of all, the motion did not say that everything on that list was exempt and good to go. The motion merely said that, and it was just a clarification, because we had this discussion last week, and I thought we had arrived at an agreement on this, but it's come to my attention over this past week, that some people were were confused as to what the council meant last week. And so the motion was just meant to clarify, and the motion just basically says that we would hold to the moratorium. But if there was a project that was gonna end up costing the city money, or that was gonna adversely affect the city, then the city manager can use her discretion in that instance. It does not mean that everything on the list that you have in front of you is good to go. It just means exactly what I just said.
And I think if we have to be, our responsibility is to the city and the taxpayers, so. Madam Manager?
Thank you. So in addition to the projects I mentioned, there was a list of the projects that, it's my understanding, were already permitted, and it's not National Grid workers that would do it, it's the outside contractor that was always going to do it. The one, Nuco, I believe, is the name of the company. So this does not affect the work that National Grid workers would be doing. But actually, Commissioner Donison, because it has to do with road pavings, is here to address it if anybody has a question.
Good evening. As outlined in the memo that you have in front of you, there's some existing permits that National Grid had obtained within the last few months. And one of them has to do, or some of them, I believe 12 of them have to do with grade 2 and grade 2A gas leaks that had been identified. Now under the gas regulations, if a gas leak is found, if it's a grade 1, they have to act immediately. It's an emergency. If it's a grade 2 or grade 2A, they need to act within 6 months, and they need to monitor on a monthly basis. So those particular 12 permits that they pulled a number of months ago are something that is recommended that they be performed as soon as possible. And then there were 12 permits that were pulled for new gas services for residential and business units throughout the city. So those will be at the prerogative of the city manager, Donahue, as far as whether she wants to issue those.
Right, so there were some that were already permitted, and there was confusion as to what the moratorium would do for those that had already been permitted. But in terms of gas leaks and, public safety was an issue. There were others that they were looking for, which we haven't had any discussion on.
Well, common sense would tell you if you have a gas leak, no matter what anybody says, that you do it. I'm not disputing that. I'm disputing the fact that there's street openings to take care of existing gas infrastructure to upgrade it, and I don't see that that's an emergency that has to be done. That's specifically what I'm speaking about. I'm not speaking about gas leaks. I'd be the first to want the gas company to
Right. Those streets pertain to the streets that are being proposed to be paved. We just recently opened some bids on some new roads that are to be paved, as well as some trench patches that National Grid had performed this past summer. And we had come to the council back in June, and as a result of a motion request, and indicated to the council that the intent was for National Grid to perform the final paving on all of those projects in the month of August. So they put a hold on those final pavings. So the question would be, should we proceed with those final pavings in those neighborhoods? I'd recommend that be done so that they don't have to be left as a temporary trench for the fall and the winter months.
Any further questions?
So that when we asked you to use your own discretion, this is part of it then, because of street paving.
Paving, correct.
All right.
Correct.
Then I'd like to change my vote to yes.
Thank you. Councilor Noonan?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want a clarification from the Madam Manager with regard to this permit. Since the moratorium been in place, has there been any permit given to National Grid?
No.
So your request, actually, the motion from Councilor Kennedy would be to give you a leeway in terms of any projects that related to the city that have detrimental impact on the city, such as the high school and or the Tiger Grant Bridge. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
for emergency purposes and others, then I agree with Council Mercia. Change my vote.
I mean, the motion brought in, we needed clarification at this particular point. I think it's important. Thank you. So, do we have a motion?
Yeah, motion's been passed.
I need a motion, okay, the motion's been passed. All right, next,
You need a motion to accept the report, as a report, to adopt and accept the report of the wire inspector. 3.1, we're still taking the underlying motion of 3.1.
yeah, but I said that, asked that.
Yeah, that's, I thought you meant the other motion, to refer the wire
Yeah,
inspector.
that's all set.
No, it's not also,
I-
that motion. You need a motion to refer to the wire. Motion to refer to the wire.
Yeah. Little debate of where we're going. Well, a motion to refer to wire inspector for a report and recommendation. Again, I need a second by Councilor Milonazo and by Councilor Mercia. Thank you. The next one, National Grid, Verizon, requests permission to relocate pole number 2 on Maple Street towards Gorham Street. And again, a public hearing was held and closed. We need a motion to refer to the wire inspector report and recommendation. Again, by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Mercia. Any questions regarding those again in that area? Yes, Councilor Leahy.
When these go to the wire inspector and come back, these are all for, right around, for Markley, these poles? Yeah, okay. So I had mentioned also, when we allow all this work, there's double poles on Gorham Street. We're gonna try to address those too. So just, we'll make a note of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're now going to go into the hearings. 4.1, utility public hearing. National Grid requests permission to relocate utilities for bridge replacement on Pawtucket Street over the Pawtucket Canal. I'd like to open the hearing. Those in favor? Anyone who wants to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Jason Farr. I am with a contracting firm representing National Grid. I'm here to speak on behalf of this project is related to the bridge replacement. We are installing a new manhole, some conduit bank, and relocating poles to move them off the existing bridge per discussions with the DOT and the town.
Okay. Any questions, Council? Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? In favor?
Good evening, I'm Claire Ricker. I'm the Chief Design Planner for the city. I'm speaking in favor of this petition. These two items, the poles and the gas main at that bridge, are step 1 and step 2 in this project. It is the actions that will get the bridge going and under construction. So we can't do anything until these two items are squared away and done, and I hope you will support the petition.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? In favor? Hearing closed. Anyone speaking in opposition? In opposition? Speaking in opposition? That portion is closed. All right, and the hearing is now closed. I need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for a report and recommendation. By
So
Councilor
moved.
Mercia, seconded by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. Next, by National Grid, request permission to relocate utilities for a bridge replacement on Pawtucket Street over the Northern Canal. I need to open the hearing for those in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, evening. Jason Farr, representing National Grid. This is the same as the other bridge. We are installing a new manhole and some conduit bank to the bridge, as well as relocating and moving existing facilities per discussions with the town and the citizens. One pole is being relocated approximately 50 feet to get out of the sidewalk. This is in support of the Tiger Bridge grants that you guys have going on.
Any questions? All right, anyone else speaking in favor? In favor?
Hi, Claire Ricker again. Pretty similar to the other bridge. This is another item, action item that needs to be done very quickly so that we can take advantage of a Nels drawdown this summer and get the work further underway at Pawtucket over Northern as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? In favor? That portion of the hearing closed. Anyone speaking against? In opposition? In opposition? That portion is closed. I now need another motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. Now, one more. We have 4.3, new singular wireless AT&T require permission or request permission to install small cell site for mobile devices data delivery located at 1007 Gorham Street. The hearing is now open for those in favor. In favor?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, Madam Manager. My name is Edward Parry. It's P-A-R-E. I'm outside counsel to AT&T from Brown Rudnick. I'm here to request the grant of location pursuant to the small cell agreement that we got approved from the City Council on the 24th. AT&T's installation will consist of a small antenna. I think the Council's familiar with the small cell antenna installations. It will improve service for AT&T customers and provide capacity for speed on the network. As I said, it's a small 24-inch antenna. It will be attached to an existing utility pole at the top with an equipment cabinet located at about 11 feet above the ground on the pole. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think the council is familiar with the installations. They're similar to what you've seen in the past.
Any questions? Any questions? Thank you. Anyone
Thank
else
you.
speaking in favor? In favor? That portion closed. Anyone speaking in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? That portion is closed. The hearing is closed. I need a motion to refer to the wire inspector for report and recommendation by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Conway. Thank you. The hearings are now closed. There was a request to take motion 10.10 out of order.
Yes, sir.
With everybody's approval. Councilor Noon, his motion was request city formally support the Cambodian Democracy Act of 2018, passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, and condemn the fraudulent election that took place in Cambodia on 7/29/18. Further request the city to send a letter of support to Senator Warren and Markey for passage of Senate 2412, Cambodian Accountability and Return on Investment Act, encouraging the restoration of civil and political rights of the opposition Cambodian National Rescue Party, media and civil society organizations, restoration of elected officials to their elected offices, and release of all political prisoners. Need a motion to accept by Councilor
Second.
Elliott. All right, second. Councilor Noon.
Mr. Mayor, maybe we invite the speaker to start first and then come back to the council.
All right, we have registered speakers. Will the clerk please call?
Danny Chum.
Everybody understand you have 5 minutes. Please give your name and address.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak in support of Councilor Nguyen's motion tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Good evening, Madam City Manager. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Danny Narong Chum. I'm currently living at 346 Andover Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I'm here to support Councilor Nguyen for the following reason. Mr. Nguyen's motion requesting the city of Lowell to formally support H.R. 5754, the Cambodia Democracy Act of 2008, passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, condemning the fraudulent election that took place in Cambodia on July 29, 2008, and also further requesting that the city of Lowell send a letter to Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Edward Markey, encourage them to vote for the passage of the Senate 2412, Cambodia Accountability and Return on Investment Act, supporting the successful implementation of the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement in Cambodia, calling for the restoration of the civil political rights of the opposition party, Cambodia National Rescue Party, and the restoration of the independent media and civil society organization, the restoration of the elected official to their elected office, and the release of all the political prisoners. Mr. Hun Sen has been a prime minister since the general election of 1993. He has ruled Cambodia for over 25 years, from 1993 to 2018 as the prime minister. His party, the Cambodian People Party, has absolute and complete control of the Cambodian National Assembly. Mr. Hun Sen ordered the arrest of Mr. Kam Sokha, the president of the Cambodian National Rescue Party, and charged him with treason. Mr. Kam is in the prison right now. Then he ordered the Cambodian Supreme Court to dissolve the Cambodian National Rescue Party before the July 29, 2008 election. The Cambodian National Rescue Party is the only real opposition party in Cambodia. We have over 20-something other party in Cambodia, but they are not a threat to the Hun Sen party. All of the 20 parties do not even have a seat in the National Assembly. In fact, they have no representation at all. They are not real political party at all. However, the only Cambodia National Rescue Party is the only real party, real opposition party. They had 40-something members of the Cambodian National Assembly. The independent media in Cambodia predict that the CNRP, the Cambodian National Rescue Party, will win the election for this July 29, 2018. Mr. Hun Sen was so afraid of losing his seat, his role as a prime minister, and also his power to rule Cambodia. Therefore, he had to do whatever he had to do to win the election. He ordered the arrest of Mr. Kam Sokha, the president of Cambodian National Rescue Party, the opposition party, charged him with treason. Right now, he's in prison right now. What is treason? What has Mr. Kam Sokha done to constitute a treason? What is the evidence? What is the real evidence? Mr. Hun Sen controls the police, the prosecutor, the courts, the military, the National Assembly. In fact, he controls all three branches of the Cambodian government. He controls the executive branch, he controls the legislative branch, he controls the judicial branch. He is in absolute control of the Cambodian government. He's a real dictator. He is not a free, fair, elected prime minister by people. He intimidates, threats people to vote for his party and for him. The general election of July 29, 2019, or 2018 here in Cambodia is not a free and fair election. In fact, it is a fraudulent election and it's not legitimate. Mr. Hun Sen party won all the seats in the Cambodian National Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor, Mr. Mayor.
You have to come to closure. You have to come to closure.
Okay, this is it. I have said this, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your time. The U.S. House Representative.
Please, you really have to come to closure.
Okay. The U.S. House Representative passed a resolution already. What we're here for is for you to support that resolution. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're going to vote to support Mr. Nguyen's motion. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chushban.
Honorary Mayor, councillors, and Office of City Manager. I'm Tuj Van, Cambodian diaspora, live in South Lowell, your neighborhood. I'm here to speak to support the Councillor Nguyen motion, Cambodian Democracy Act 2018. This very important for Cambodians and as well Cambodian diaspora communities around the world. Why? Let me paint 3 points. 1, Hun Sen and his thugs tried to kill democracy process that the US and the international community have planted seed for 25 years since Paris occurred in 1991. Number 2, In 1993, national election that conducted by UNTAC, and Hun Sen and CPP lost election, but he refused to give the powers. So the compromise was he was second prime minister and the Ranariddh the first prime minister. But he conducted the stage a bloody coup to against the prime minister in 1997. So a lot of people died. And number three, the reason political violence conducted by the Hun Sen and his Turks. 3 years ago, the lawmaker, American citizen Ngao Chamran, was largely brutally attacked by Hun Sen bodyguard. Dr. Kam Lay, popular Cambodian political political commentators, were murdered in broad daylight. And Hun Sen and CPP resolved the CNRP and arrest his leader, Kum Sukha, now in prison. Ban 118 senior political party to involve political movements, and took away 55 CNRP lawmaker seats and won 5,007 local community leaders that belongs to CNRP, that 3 million people vote for that. This means he took away the rights of the 3 million people. So that's why it's so important that U.S. warrant on Ed Markey and the whole U.S. passed this act. So the U.S. can impose the sanctions all these 7 members that in Hun Sen circle that play the role to kill democracies in Cambodia. Cambodian democracies are there. The diaspora deserve better than Hun Sen have been abused human rights and democracy and try to kill democracy in Cambodia. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sam Mees.
Excuse me. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor, and City Manager Eileen Donahue. My name is Sam Mees. I live at 1541 Middlesex Street. I am here tonight to support Councillor Nguyen's motion. For some time now, democracy, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and human rights in the Royal Kingdom of Cambodia have been deteriorating fast and in a downward spiral. The government of Prime Minister Hun Sen has been using any means necessary to hold on to power. It has arrested, charged, convicted, and imprisoned the president of the main opposition party, Kum Sukha, on trumped-up charges. It has banned the CNRP, the main opposition party in the Kingdom of Cambodia. And on July 29, 2018, it held a false election in which the ruling party, the CPP, won 100% of the vote. Therefore, I am requesting that this body supports and adopt the United States House Resolution 5457, the Cambodian Democracy Act of 2018, and the United States Senate Resolution 2412, Cambodia Accountability and Return on Investment Act. Furthermore, I'm requesting the Council to send a letter to Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Ed Markey to support and to pass Senate Resolution 2412. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Champa Pang.
Mr. Mayor, councilors. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of supporting Vesna Nguyen's motion. I'd like to read a little excerpt from the online encyclopedia in regards to the Cambodian National Rescue Party of Cambodia. Party leader Kem Sokha was arrested in September 2017, after which the party was in danger of being dissolved, allegedly for being part of a foreign plot to overthrow Prime Minister Hun Sen. The case was heard by the Supreme Court, which is headed by Chief Justice Dit Munti, a member of the CPP's Permanent Committee. On the 16th of November 2017, the Supreme Court of Cambodia ruled to dissolve the CNRP. In a move, Charles San Diego, chairman of Asian Parliamentaries for Human Rights, called the final nail in the coffin for Cambodian democracy. As a result of the ruling, all CNRP office holders, including 489 commune chiefs and 55 members of parliament, lost their positions and their seats allocated to other parties. Additionally, 118 senior party officials were banned from politics for 5 years. About half the party's former members of parliament, including its vice president Musuhua, had already fled Cambodia before October out of fear of arrest by the ruling party. The forced dissolution of the party prompted condemnation and calls to reverse the decision from the international community. What does that mean to us city councilors and even Lowell residents? Well, the people that were exiled and had fled Cambodia, they went to Thailand, Australia, France, Canada, the USA, mainly California, and here, Lowell. Many people came here 30 years ago on refugee status. 10 years ago, there was an influx of Cambodian people and political asylum. What does that mean to Lowell? It means that in addition to having a reactive role, providing resources, housing, and funding to these people on political asylum, not only the number that I mentioned, but also their families, we should actually take up a proactive role, reaching out to senators in support of the 2 bills that Vesna Nguyen had mentioned. We have to send out a united message from you, the representatives of Lowell, the leaders of a true democratic city, that we know what a sham election looks like. We do not support corruption. We will not hide or allow supporters of such wrongdoings to negotiate or bring forth an alliance and undermine our values and integrity. That's the real message we want to send out to the supporters of Hun Sen here in Lowell, Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Touche.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Councillor, and I thank you for giving me time to speak about what happened in my country, Cambodia. As you know that whatever happened in Cambodia has affected all of us, although we are living 8,680 miles from Cambodia. It affects all of us. And I'm sure that, Councillor Rita and Ronnie Elliott went to Cambodia, you can feel the emotion that went through all of us. As our brother in Cambodia cannot talk, cannot speak, just raise your hand, you'll find $2,500. We are their voices. We are their hope. We must speak out, and we refuse to be silent by Hun Sen. Elie Wiesel once said that there may be time when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest. Hun Sen government forced our people to submit to his dictatorial power by using guns, torture, murder, intimidation. He can silence them, but we are Cambodian American living in this country, in this great nation. We refuse to submit to his intimidation. We will stand up and we will fight to the end. Bill S. 2012 focused on the success of the 1991 Paris Peace Accord, that finally we have peace in Cambodia. Yet on July 29, 2018, Hun Sen had destroyed our hope and dream for a peaceful Cambodia. Aung San Suu Kyi once spoke about freedom from fear, freedom from intimidation, freedom from prison, freedom from being murdered. Without freedom, we cannot exercise our constitutional right to vote, to choose our government. That is why we are here today. Today is a new beginning for Lowellian. We are standing and demanding freedom for our homeland, our people. We will use our constitutional right as free men and women of this great nation, and through our governmental leader to support motion that has been introduced by Councillor Visna Nguyen. We are coming today as a constituent of this great nation, great city, to ask you as our leader to support Resolution AR 5754 and Bill S 2412. Furthermore, we ask that you send letter to Senator Warren, Senator Markey, ask them to support this bill as well. I thank you for giving me time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susie Chon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and city managers. Eileen Donahue. My name is Susie Chun. I am here in support of Mr. Nguyen's motion. My address is 127 Rogers Street, City of Lowell. I am here standing in front of you to implore you to reach out to our senators in support of HR 5754 and S 2412 in order to help Lowell Cambodian community to send a clear message to Congress in order to apply more sanction against an authoritarian regime in Cambodia. The regime has jailed the political opposition leader by fabricating and labeling them as a traitor to the country. There were no treacherous act of CNRP party leader, Mr. Kim Saka. The accusations were based upon a YouTube video that Lok Kim Saka admitted to have a grassroots seminar that were given by Democratic National Committee, DNC, in 2003. As a free world, we shall not allow this type of oppression to continue to elongate its lifeline into our free society. With your voice, we will send a clear message to members of U.S. Congress, U.S. State Department, and the President to pass this bill in support of millions of Cambodians yearning for freedom and liberty. With this said, we've collected over 700 signatures right here. And we will continue to push this bill until both houses of Congress pass it as law. Freedom and liberty for Cambodia.
Thank you.
Joseph Boyle.
Repeat it.
Joseph Boyle.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, Madam Manager. My name is Joseph Boyle. I live in the Highlands. I'm here tonight to urge you all to pass Councilor Nguyen's motion in support of the Cambodian Democracy Act in the House and in the Senate. You have heard a number of speakers here urging you to send a message to our congressional delegation in support of this, and I'd certainly like to echo their call. I'm hoping that you can use your influence as the representatives of the city with the largest Cambodian population in Massachusetts to kind of draw our Senate delegation into this cause and into this issue. But I'm here in hopes that you can send another message as well, and that is to the Cambodian American population in this city, and especially the democracy activists in the Cambodian population in this city. A couple of years ago, there was an event that took place here that disturbed me very much. The Cambodian government's consul here in Lowell went on our publicly funded municipal cable and issued a threat. He said to the people who had protested the visit by the dictator's son, Han Manet, that he hoped that their pictures would be hung up in the airport in Cambodia so that the security forces could recognize them when they went to visit their families. And in response to this, he was taken aside and spoken to, but the issue was treated like an inappropriate comment on a local cable access show, instead of what it actually was, which was a credible threat by an agent of a foreign power against citizens of Lowell, Massachusetts, and their families. There is a sense that perhaps the powers that be in this city are not entirely understanding of and not entirely behind the democratic rights and freedoms of Cambodians here and abroad. And what I'm hoping you can do tonight is to send a very clear message that you've got their backs and that you will protect the democratic rights and the civil liberties of Cambodians and support democracy and democratic rights because they are our values. They are the values of the city of Lowell. Thank you very much.
Edward Ong? Yes. Just for the record, I don't think this city council needs any further support. I mean, we have supported the Cambodian people from day one. And this council is well aware of these issues. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the council manager, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. To start, I'd like to say I don't think there's much I could add about these bills. I think these bills, the Cambodian Democracy Act and the Cambodia Accountability and Return on Investment Act, they speak for themselves. This past election in Cambodia was a blatant violation of basic human rights and the very idea of fair and free elections. There was only one party to vote for. Any news or media opposing Hun Sen or supporting the opposition was shut down. And international nonprofits, such as the National Democratic Institute, were banned from the country. These violations, they're not new. Through social media, I have witnessed the death of democracy and the destruction of the natural resources, which have brought many protests throughout the world against Hun Sen's government. Hun Sen and other high-level officials have been using intimidation and corruption to maintain their control of Cambodia for years. When the opposing party has been disbanded, when political opponents are being arrested, and when protesters are being beaten and murdered, in broad daylight, it is our duty to do something. Lowell has a big Cambodian population. It's no secret. I myself am the son of a Cambodian refugee. I urge the council to listen to the people of Lowell, to support this motion, to send the letters to our senators, and help these bills get passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Rithyoung?
Good evening. Wow, has been here for a long time, that's right. Mr. Mayor, member of City Councils, Madam City Manager. My name is Rithyoung, 37 Gracie, Lowell, Mass. 01851. I'm here tonight to support the motion by Councillor and Vice Mayor Mr. Visnanuans to ask for the Council to adopt the resolutions HR 5754 that just passed recently by the Congress floor on July 25th, 2018 to call for the Cambodia Democracy Act of 2018, as well as the Senate bill that is on the second reading that will be introduced on the Senate floor, the S-2412, that called to return back to the Paris Peace Agreement 1991, which called for the elections that reinstore the democracy in Cambodia. As we all witnessed that it's been many years that Mr. Hun Sen ruled Cambodia. We as Cambodian Americans, we live in a very peaceful country, the most democracy country in the world, and America has spent so much resources and energy to help to restore democracy back in Cambodia. July 29, 2018, it was the day that the return of the death of democracy in Cambodia. We can't sleep. We cannot stay here, ignore the fact that many other peoples are dying for democracy. Their rights have been taken. The freedom of speech have been taken. The freedom of media, freedom of assemblies, and everything from housing to education to health have been taken away from the powerlessness of Cambodia. How can we live through that? We spend so much resources to help other people, to make sure that life is a precious thing to all of us. We care about life. We care about other human beings. But how about ignoring the fact that the Cambodian community has asked for help to make sure that democracy is back, to make sure that the leaders of Cambodian National Rescue Party is released unconditionally? He was charged for espionage, working with the U.S. government to overthrow the Hun Sen government without any proof of evidence. He was charged, and the Hun Sen government was feared that the opposition party, led by the CNRP for short, will overthrow his government through election process. That's why his government used the court system to dissolve the party. So we're here tonight to ask the council to support the U.S. Congress, who just passed the resolution H.R. 5754. We ask you to support, not support us, but support our lawmakers in the Capitol Hills who call for help, who have heard our help. We have signatures, we have petitions, not just from Lowell, all over the countries, all over the world, to ask everyone that believe in democracy, every country that believe in democracy, work with us to ensure that the human rights will be in place, the democracy will return back to Cambodian people that they deserve, so that the 3 million voters that have been stolen from Cambodian voters will be returned back to Cambodia. The lawmakers, the 5,000 plus community leaders that just elected last June 2017 get returned back to the job as they should be, done. So please support the motion tonight and make sure that our voice as Cambodian Americans who live in Lowell, the greatest city in the Commonwealth, to ask you to work with us to make sure that you support the motions by Councillor Nunes, as well as support the bills that have been introduced and passed by our Congress at the Capitol Hill, H.R. 5754. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to thank all the speakers for the information that they gave us. Also want to thank former Councillor Ung for taking me to Cambodia, because it gave me an opportunity to better understand the needs of the Cambodian people, but also I was able to see that and learn about their proud history and culture. So that was a wonderful event. Councillor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know my fellow councillor too feel the pain of Cambodian American who immigrated here some 30 years ago. This resonates today. Our homeland. We're from Cambodia. We escaped Cambodia because of the communists, the Khmer Rouge. The guy who sat there in Cambodia, who just passed a fraudulent election today, is a former Khmer Rouge. You heard about the arrest and imprisonment of the opposition party. You heard about the ban of an independent media and civil society. And you heard about the dissolve of the opposition party that was voted by the people of Cambodia in Cambodia. And the fraudulent election recently. The EU and the US, Japan, and the free world urged the government of Cambodia to go back to this discussion to free the opposition leader and to free the political prisoner. None of that happened. So the bill that was passed by the House about a week ago, bill number 5754, and the Senate Bill 2412. Those bills, like one of the speaker speak for itself. What I'm asking this council, my fellow council, to do is, I'd like to refer this motion to the law department to draft a resolution so that the council can vote at the next meeting, and to send a message really to the people of Cambodia that we support you, we have your back. And also the letter to Senator Warren and Senator Markey, urging them to support Bill 57, 54, and also work on Bill 24 and 12. I thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilor Cirillo, then Councilor
Yes.
Conway, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Elliott.
I am in support of this motion because it is in support of the Cambodian community and their freedoms. This is very important as they are an integral part of our city of Lowell. Thank you.
Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to first of all congratulate all the speakers that came up. They did an absolutely incredible job, and you certainly could see and listen to the passion that each and every one have. And I will say that I'm very fortunate that I have been involved with education for a number of years, and we certainly have had a tremendous amount, very fortunate to meet and respect and appreciate the Cambodian community. And I want to say that I am very proud and honored to support this Councilor Noon's motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if anybody has seconded Councilor Noon's motion to refer to the law department in order that a resolution could be drawn up, but I would be happy to second that.
Councilor Milonazo.
I think this. I think that if nobody had come up to speak this evening, that this motion probably would have still passed unanimously. However, I think that we do have a large Cambodian community that feel very strongly about what's going on back in Cambodia. And I think that, you know, some people may ask, well, why is the city of Lowell getting involved in a matter like this? But I do think this, there are a lot of people in the community that have friends and relatives that live over there that are having a hard time and that are being persecuted as we listened to today. And I do think also that Lowell, because we have such a large population, which is larger than probably any other community in the United States of America other than Long Beach, I believe, that we should have extra standing, that this city council should have extra standing with the U.S. Senate. And so I think it's important that that we stand with the Cambodian community on this and pass this resolution. And I would suggest that when the resolution is done, that we send the resolution to both of the United States senators representing Massachusetts, and also that we send along the petition to both of them as well, and ask them to take it up on our behalf. And in addition to that, I'm not sure what they're doing in Lynn, Massachusetts, but I know Lynn also has a large population. And so it would be a good idea for the mayor's office to get in touch with the mayor's office in the city of Lynn and see if they can't also do a similar resolution and send it to the U.S. senators as well. Now, maybe they're doing that, and I just don't know about it. But if they aren't, I think it certainly can't hurt to have Lynn join with the city of Lowell in this effort. So I'm happy to support Councilor Noon's motion, and I think, and hopefully this will, the U.S. Senate and the United States government will pay attention to the city of Lowell on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I've followed this, and I have supported these activists in every effort they have had over the years in the city, because it's the right thing to do. They've had marches, protests, people have been incarcerated in Cambodia, made it out, they came over here to tell the story of what is going on. I wholeheartedly support this motion for many reasons. But first and foremost, to show that we will support and resist the repressive regime of Hun Sen in Cambodia. Yeah, it's a travesty what's going on in Cambodia. And I can tell you, I know, I've seen it firsthand. Not only the first time, but the second time as well. You can't disband a political party and say that democracy is taking place in Cambodia, and we're going to be here right till the end, and we're going to support you to fight the effort until there is peace and tranquility in Cambodia. So please know that. People are being silenced, they're being jailed, they're being beaten. It's been mentioned, it's a very emotional issue. And I think the timing of this motion by Councilor Noon is appropriate on the heels of the so-called election where one party was on the ballot this past July 29th. Mr. Toots really struck a chord with me, and this is why I so support this effort. It's a very emotional issue, what's taking place since the election in 2013. It touches the lives of each and every Cambodian here in Lowell because of family and because of what they have been through. This election has garnered the international attention. It has been in the U.S. Congress. The U.S. government has taken and implemented sanctions, travel sanctions, against the regime. So again, I applaud your effort. I wholeheartedly support you. I've been to every rally, to every protest. I'll continue to be there. We'll stay strong together. It was mentioned, they're doing it here in the Cradle of Democracy in Lowell, Massachusetts, because people can't speak out or they're thrown in jail in Cambodia. So we'll keep raising the issue here. United States, we can speak out without being jailed, and we'll continue to do it. Thank you so much. I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Councilor Milanazo.
I thank you, Mayor. Let me begin by thanking Councilor Noon for bringing this motion forward. This is critically important, not only to the speakers, and by the way, I was quite moved by what all the speakers shared with us this evening. I'm also very proud of the fact that as an immigrant city, we've come so far. To look at the gallery here and to talk about us being the centerpiece to really talk about this issue really on a national and international level. I don't know if we would have seen that 20 years ago in the council chambers. So as a city, a welcoming immigrant city, I think it's proof positive that people feel comfortable coming to this council chambers and talking about an issue as important as this. Again, I'm going to support the motion as amended, to have a resolution drawn up and sign that and get that to not only the House of Representatives, but both Senator Markey and Senator Warren. So again, I want to applaud everyone. I have to tell you again, I was quite moved by what you all had to say, and I think that we can make a difference here in the city of Lowell as we come together to support democracy in Cambodia. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whatever has been said has already been said, but when you look at that motion and people at home might have saw it or heard of it, and they said, what does that have to do with us? But it has plenty to do with us. I'm very proud of all the people that took time out of their busy life to come in this chamber, because as we say on any given Saturday or Sunday, when many ethnic groups come before us to raise the flag of their nation downstairs at City Hall, that we say, just because we sit in these seats, it isn't for us. This is your building, and you took advantage of that, and you're here, and I'm so very proud of you because you heard what people are saying. This is your building. This isn't ours. Having said that, I wholeheartedly agree with this motion by Vesna Noon, as well as offering a motion on behalf of the Cameroon people who had a similar situation, and my colleagues were gracious enough to vote in support of a particular piece of a resolution to give to the country of Cameroon. So I wholeheartedly support. This is what you call democracy at its best. This is what it is. This is our city, and on any given time when we have a flag raising, close to 22 now, they do it on Independence Day. Independence, because there's nothing greater than freedom, the right to gather and assemble and speak without any fears. I thought you had that in Cambodia. I went many years ago with Councilor Elliott to visit your country of Cambodia because I wanted to feel what you went through, what your relatives went through. I went to Tul Sling prison. I went to the killing fields. I feel what you've been through, what your refugees been through. We went to the refugee camp. We even met with Savannah Poo, and we went to a prison where 12 women were being held, and I don't know when they would have come out because they didn't want to give up their land. Imagine the government saying, we want this land, you're out of here. And they fought and fought for their land. Because they wouldn't give it up, they were imprisoned. So I feel what that is about. We did speak, I spoke to Nikki Songus, Congresswoman, on it. Rodney spoke to Elizabeth Warren. We did make a difference with those people. When you have a problem in Lowell, Massachusetts, and someone gets arrested, if they have no relatives, you have what is called DYS, and the children are taken care of there. But in Cambodia, when the women are imprisoned, they're all on their own with a neighbor or some stranger taking care of them. Is that what life is all about? No wonder you escaped the Khmer Rouge and went to Thailand. And I thought that your troubles were over there, but they weren't, because people were being raped and beaten and taken advantage of in the Thailand. So I got to know all this. So I admire you deeply for being here. We have a right to help those that have an issue. You have a very serious problem back in Cambodia. I wish we could celebrate and say it's independence, but you're never independent when you have a government that suppresses you, and that's what's happening there. But your hard work may persevere. I know how proud you are of your homeland. You live here in Lowell, but your roots are in Cambodia, of your families. You're very, very proud of that, just as my father was an immigrant that was proud to be here at 7 years old, but he loved his homeland of Poland. So it might be to people, why are they doing it? I know why they're doing it, and we'll be with you until the end. Good luck to you. Anything we can do to help you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Noon, for the motion. Thank you for everybody coming down. And thank you to the speakers tonight. Nothing much more can be said, but we're here to support you. We're here. We're united, coming from the city of Lowell, and that's what we do here in Lowell. So proud to be part of this, and we're here to stand with you because it is the right thing to do. And in Lowell, that's what we do. We unite and we come together, and together we can make a difference. So thank you for coming down.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy. I have to say, when Councilor Kennedy stated that this council would have passed this motion, whether you were here or not, because I believe this council is very knowledgeable of what has been going on, what goes on, and is supportive of the Cambodian community. But I think what is more important, that we're truly honored that you have the trust to come to us, because that's what democracy is all about. If democracy is effective, if government is effective, there is a trust, and you're showing that trust. And we hope that we can help you at some point when the people in Cambodia will feel that they can have that trust for their own government, that they'll truly have a democratic government. So we're pleased and grateful that you came to us and you trust us to help you'll bring that message out as to what the needs are. Thank you. Roll call? Roll call. Want a roll call?
Roll call.
Council Newman.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. We're going to now go back to communication from the city manager. We have the First Street security cameras. That report, Councilor Mercer, do you have any
Yes,
questions?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. It did state in the response that the police department has installed a security camera in the area of concern. Great job. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it's all about there. So I'm very pleased that it's there. So if anybody else feels like they want to destroy our city and dump trash and debris and household furniture there, you may be caught, and I hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam
Councilor Leahy?
Manager.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Through you to the manager, we've been trying to work on with the state to get a fence up there too, so if we can continue that, we figure it would help with heavy objects being thrown over.
Yeah, we will communicate with the representatives in the state as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, motion response B, narcotic cameras. Councilor Conway? Right, Councilor Conway stepped out. Madam Manager, is there anything else that should be said regarding this matter?
Let me I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the new superintendent of the Lowell Police as of approximately 4 hours ago. Superintendent Chief Kelly Richardson was sworn in, and so let me introduce Kelly.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And as I said to the Madam Manager, personally and in private, I'll say it now in public, I promise to do my best for this city. I think you all know how I feel about this city, and I'll make sure that we move forward and make this one of the safest cities in the state. I don't know if you want me to touch on these cameras or...
Yeah, there is a report. I know it was Councilor Conway who was here, and there was a response as far as camera installation. Chief, if you want to respond to that.
Yes, Madam Manager. Yes, excuse me again, I have a great head cold, couldn't come at a better time for me. But anyway, we have installed cameras across the city. Thank God for the capital plan funds, we were able to do that. And those, as you read from the report, those cameras are channeled into various parts of the police station, mainly the main desk, which is the hub of the police department. Basically, that's manned 24/7. There's also, actually have the video monitor in my office. The deputy superintendent has it, so it's just good to be able to see what's going on in the city. You could be on the phone or whatever, but it records everything that happens, so even if we're not there at the particular time, we can go back and look at it. And we look at this as just one of many tools that we have to fight narcotics traffic in the city. We key on the parks. The parks are very important to us because that's where our children are, and we make sure that there's no one in the parks dealing to them, so we keep a close eye on that. And we can actually have the ability, like the report says, to move these cameras around if we find out there's other locations in the city that are becoming busier. I would say we can move the cameras over there, and we want the people to know the cameras are there. We look at it as a deterrence and also as an intelligence tool.
Councilor Conway?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank the city manager and her team putting that motion together, report together. I have just a few questions through you, Mr. Mayor, to the new chief. How many cameras do we have now in the city? Do you know?
I'd be guessing, just looking at the monitor that I have, I'd probably look at 30 cameras, but I know there's more than that because there was a conversation today about an accident that might have happened, and they are at some of the intersections. So I don't quite have all those, but I can find out exactly from MIS where we are, because they've been really moving forward pretty quick with this project.
And when the report came out, it's kind of zeroed in just on the drug use and the traffic and so forth. But obviously, surveillance cameras is going to catch should we say, there's going to be a wider spectrum of different types of crimes that might be going on in the city. And I think that's extremely important. That's why I wanted to put that motion on to you, Madam Manager, because of the fact that I think that the bad guys are constantly trying to improve.
Correct.
And I think that's why we have to stay ahead of the curve. If you had the opportunity, would you encourage more cameras in the city?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going to deter every crime. Many times there's crimes of passion. They're going to happen no matter what's there or who's there. But when people know that they're being watched, they tend to behave a little bit better. And they know that there's something that's going to be recorded. That's why a lot of them are downtown. You know, downtown's very important to us, so we look at that as far as disturbances go, and hopefully we can pick up some people or vehicles leaving. But I think it has a deterrent effect. I think that people are concerned when they see them in the area.
Right. And Madam Manager, again, we talked about this 3 weeks ago. The fact is that, we realize that the budget is already set for this year. However, going forward, I think I would like to see an increase in the surveillance cameras, because that's just another tool that can help our police. And to be quite frank with you, we want to try to continue to make the city as safe as possible. And this is not the time that we just sit back, because again, it affects so many different things in the city, which, if you take a look at, we want to attract people, good people, families to the city. We want to attract businesses to the city. We want our businesses here to expand. And I think that if we let people know that this is going on, that we are trying the best we possibly can, I think it's going to really help out. And the other thing is, again, I had no idea how many cameras we have, and I'm sure that 99% of the population doesn't know that either. So I think it might be a good idea to let the public know that there is that tool that's available that's trying to make them as safe as possible.
Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. Your point of it being a tool, it's an important tool, and we look forward to working with Chief Richardson and going forward on use of technology in particular that has proved successful in even some of the most recent arrests that have taken place. And so, cameras and other type of tools for the police, whether it's through the capital plan or other resources, we'll look to other resources in where appropriate, whether it's the law enforcement trust fund and the like.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report. The manager talked about institutional opportunities for additional funds. I would suggest that we reach out to some of our institutional partners, like the Lowell Housing Authority, that has a lot of property here in the city, obviously, the University of Massachusetts at Lowell, Middlesex Community College, places like Lowell General Hospital that have satellite facilities, because again, they have access to resources that we may not be eligible for, but they would. So if it's a coordinated effort under Superintendent Richardson and your office, Madam Manager, I think that that's another way to really expand the whole intent of making sure that we have the cameras in the right locations. Thank you.
All set. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to pinpoint what this report said, and maybe we could spread the word that the areas that are covered throughout the city with these cameras are schools, parks, high crime areas, and congested downtown areas. So be aware that we may be watching you if you want to probably steal that woman's pocketbook or whatever. We may have a camera right zoomed on you. So that's the word I want to tell the public, maybe through the newspaper. Right, Rick?
All right, thank you. All set, okay.
No.
Next, oh, sorry, Councilor Elliott.
So, congratulations, Chief. I just want to note the good work that the department is doing. I was in Centerville last night on the top of the hill, and I had the occasion to speak with neighbors in the area. And it's a quiet neighborhood, and the drug dealing is, as we all know, has become, using technology has been complex. But my point is, it was the neighbors that used footage, used their cell phone, contacted the police department over a series. There was a location, it was a drop-off. The drug dealers would text somebody, they would meet them there, they'd do their drop, and they would leave. And it happened on a repeated basis. But with the help of the police department and getting pictures and getting video, they got the drug dealers, they prosecuted them, and that's the type of, the old saying, when you see something, say something. That is the effectiveness. That's the extension of community policing, if you will, and that's how we're going to catch them, staying one step ahead on how they're doing or conducting themselves with illicit activity. And surveillance cameras go a long way to that, but so does this camera right here, and I think that's imperative. It's a message for us to send out that we can install these throughout hotspot locations, but the bad guys know where they are sometimes, and then they just take it on the run. So I'm going to stop there. I just thought it was important to note that what we are doing is happening and working throughout the city.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is precinct staffing. Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the report. I know that Chief have identified, at least Centerville, Highland, and the Acre would have someone staffing the precinct throughout the day and weekend, so which is important. Apparently, those are some of the areas that we are concerned the most. Is recent incident happened at and around those precincts, so it's good to have staffing in that location, and and possibly if there's we can really get more volunteers help, it'll be awesome too. Thanks.
Chief, could I ask you a question? Yes. This was a motion by Councilor Noon and myself, and the concern, the report was a great report, and it does talk about people can reach the police by cell phone, but the issue is when they see a precinct, there's an assumption that maybe somebody's there, that they hope they're there. Are you going to look at the high, we'll say the high crime areas or areas that are problematic? Do we have an extended day? Do we plan to have an extended day at some of those? Or how do we, what's the best way of putting people there? I mean, it's a comfort to know that somebody's there. Or if you go to the station, there's going to be somebody that can help you.
Right. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be the person who was in trouble and needed help and run to a police precinct and pull on the door and no one answers the door.
That's the point.
So I put thought into this, and I think that I would probably have to work with the law department, but there is some officers that can only do so much duties because of an injury, a light duty injury. I think that that's something we could take a look at. I wouldn't want to put them in harm's way, obviously, so that's something that I looked at. Also, what I looked at is, when you see the phones around the city that the university has, so the blue phones that basically someone can go to, I think that maybe it might be time for us to put some of those on some of our precincts. So for some reason, if there was an officer at the precinct and a hot call came in and he had to leave, and someone needed a police officer right away and pull on that door, they'd at least be able to pick up that phone and not everybody has a cell phone, very few, most people do, but you never know. But to have that there and even having that beacon where they could go there and pick that phone up and know that there's going to be help there within like a minute.
Thank you for that, Ken. Thank you very much. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. It is a good report. I believe it's the last report on the agenda from Interim Superintendent Jonathan Webb. So I would like to suggest that the mayor and the manager, on behalf of the council, thank him for stepping up and acting as interim superintendent. He did a very good job through some tough weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to publicly thank Acting Superintendent Webb. I think he served for 3 months, and he served exceedingly well in a very difficult time, but he stepped up to the plate and kept things running. And really, when we look at the incidents that happened, pretty regularly on his watch. The whole police department pulled together and solved, many of these almost the next day or within days. So it was a tough assignment. He served the city well, and he served the city for over 37 years, and he retired today. So I want to thank him for his service.
Yeah, no. I told him to keep his phone on. Might be calling him, but thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mental Health Care Center, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. Thank you for the report. It just sort of amplifies the need for additional beds when there's only 15 beds in a city of this nature. So I think this is something that we're going to have to try to work on. I know the governor has put funding in this year's budget for, I think, 1,100 more beds throughout the state. So I appreciate it. Just, again, underscores the need for mental health services based upon this report and the limitations that it has. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, Lowell High School Project Working Group, Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good idea. I think this group should stay with the project all through, and I think the manager has put together a good committee.
Questions? Okay. Downtown upper floor vacancies, Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, thank you. This is a good motion response. Thank you. I asked for this to start a conversation in finding things that we can do to help revitalize the downtown. So I was wondering if Diane could come up and speak to what's in this report. And I like to see that we are at 19%, which is better than the current rates around. So I'm very happy with that. This is a very good motion, and I like that we're doing outreach. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. I'd like Andrew Shapiro to come up. The Economic Development team worked on this very difficult project.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor, for raising the motion. It's a pleasure to respond. Yeah, as you mentioned, 19% vacancy rate is pretty good. Yeah. Some of this information is very fluid. It fluctuates on a daily basis, as a matter of fact. And in looking at that market report that we referenced, it really referenced vacancy rate in the I-495 corridor for Class A and B office. And something to keep in mind is a lot of the class of office in downtown Lowell. Some of it is Class C. A lot of it is Class B as well, if you look at Wanalancet Mills and the Boot Mills. So there was some, apt comparison there, but definitely some signs of encouragement. As far as, efforts to revitalize the downtown, we're working very closely with several property owners and incoming businesses, and of course the existing businesses in the downtown, trying to maintain open dialogue about ways we can recruit new businesses and new users in upper floors as well as ground floor retail establishments. We're working very closely as well with the LDFC. They're, obviously a strong partner in being able to finance and fund some of the businesses coming into town who are starting up. We were fortunate to receive some funding through the state that the LDFC moved in terms of, and it's in fact with the cooperation of then Senator Donahue, to assist a company from the iHub in terms of moving into a property in the downtown. And the city also received additional funds to the state with the help of Representative Tom Golden to also get some additional funds to grant to incoming businesses that are expanding and interested in expanding into permanent office space in downtown Lowell. So we'll be deploying that, continuing open dialogue, and looking for new ways to work together to make sure that we take care of this.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just the report says 19%, but you also include space, and there are big chunks of space from Middlesex Community College and from the university, which skewers the vacancy rate, doesn't it? I mean, if you take those out, the vacancy rate would be considerably higher, and probably higher than what Colliers has.
Yeah, absolutely. And
But in fairness, the Collier's vacancy rate is just all office space, isn't it? In office parks and everything else.
That's correct, but I also think it would be fair to assume that at least some of that office space that they're referencing is institutional uses as well. I mean, it could be city offices and other I-495
Absolutely,
corridors.
it's everything, but,
Yeah.
but just as, we're not, by comparing it to Collier's, when you're not comparing apples to apples, I guess is my point, right?
Absolutely. I don't want to deceive anybody in saying that it's completely apples to apples. I just wanted to provide the best reference point we had available to us, which was that report.
Right. But if, and I believe, I was not the maker of the motion, but I believe that the reason for the motion was to see how much office space was vacant in the downtown area. And so, if that's the case and we want to know what the vacancy rate is there, it probably would have been better and more accurate to take out the space from Middlesex Community College and from the university, since, you know, that's their space. Whether they're occupying it or not, it's still their space. Do you follow me?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. So do you think we could get, or at least could I get an update of this that would just take that out and just see what the vacancy rate is there, which I don't think needs to come back before the council for another report, but I would be interested to see what that is.
Very easy to take out that data and look at it again. Absolutely. Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is smart water meters. Councilor Cirillo.
Yes, hi, thank you. This is a very in-depth motion response, so thank you. Thank you. Because I know that there are a few residents who are concerned about their health and well-being with these meters. So I would like to ask Mark Young to come up and speak to what is in this report so that the residents can know and understand the meters that we are installing, and if there are any health risks that are with these health meters. Thank you.
Well, I think, Councilor, thank you for allowing me to talk on this. I tried to put some information together that was more than anecdotal information from myself. So I tried to give some links, some computer links, and information from the manufacturer and from some studies to show that it's not a health risk, that the radio frequency from these devices is so low that it's lower than any cell phone, microwave oven, television, radio, and it's almost equivalent to the background, the natural background radio frequency from the earth.
And you said that a good percentage of these water meters are on the outside of the home.
Yes, that's the meter. Just so that everybody understands, the show and tell. This is the actual device that reads, and correct, it is mostly, most of them are on the outside of the house. And it doesn't put out a radio frequency constantly. It only sends out it intermittently to the readers that relay that information back to the water plant. So it's not something that's constantly on.
Thank you. I think that this will alleviate some residents who were concerned about the health risks of having
And
these
if
water
anybody
meters.
else has any questions, always have them call the water plant.
Yes.
We can give them some more information if they want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, about probably every half hour, just a pulse. Because you want the meters to be accurate too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next, school department assistants, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I know that over the last few weeks, the manager has reached out to the school department, and, you know, the motion just speaks for itself. We just want to make sure that any help that they need, they can feel comfortable to reach over. So, I did have one question. How would you, to the mayor, things seem to be going good with the budget? Are we working on the TV studio, or?
We'll provide more information tomorrow. It's coming in as we speak. But
All right.
there is clarification of some of the budget issues.
Okay, thank you.
Next is State Foundation budget. Madam Manager or the solicitor?
I thank you, Mr. Mayor. the Law Department did reach out to the City of Worcester in connection with the motion that had to do with the City of Worcester talking about initiating a lawsuit in Brockton as well, challenging the state for not fully funding foundation budget or following the recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Commission. The solicitor can speak to this. The lawsuit has not been filed to date, but the City of Worcester was advised that we are more than willing to participate in the suit and work with them to that end.
Okay. Thank you. The Hamilton Canal Innovation District, Councilor Leahy.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilor.
I'm sorry. Could we hear from the city solicitor? Where are they with that suit? Where are they still expecting to move forward? And when might they do that?
Possibly. The impression I have is that there was the expectation that other communities would be joining in on this suit. And to date, while we have shown interest, the interest has been fairly limited in nature. So I think they're waiting to see if they can, economy of scales, get more communities on board to help control costs that they would anticipate incurring, because I believe that they were planning on farming it out.
Is it their intention to move forward whether or not they get other communities or not?
That's not clear to me.
Okay.
We certainly will continue to follow up with them, and I certainly can follow up on that particular point.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Councilor Elliott.
Do we have any idea if the Mass Municipal Association, who perhaps would be willing to coordinate such an effort, would be interested? Seems like, any other large-scale statewide issue, I know it's a school issue, and, well, it's still a municipal issue, so I don't know if that's, seems like, coordinating that effort and reaching out to communities, the organization would have a database right at their disposal to send it out to see if there is any interest, and I know that we are a member, so it might be worth looking into. Thank you.
We can follow up with that as well.
All right, next is the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. Councilor Leahy, some information.
Thank you. No, the report is good report, just lets us know where we are over there. We had wind here tonight for parcels 8 and 9. I think we actually got an email from DPD this week too that gave us a full update on where we are with the garage and the roads and infrastructure. So it seems like we're moving along over there. Thank you.
Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe Diane can answer that question. The question here is, a while back, the Marriott Hotel was thinking about building a hotel in the Hampton Canal District, and the issue was something to do with a land swap. Where are we at on that?
I feel like we keep saying this, but it's the truth. We're working forward, and every day we make a little bit of progress on the land swap. We probably talk to the Park Service on a daily basis on this. So we are working on it, and we also do talk to different developers about their ideas and proposals for the area. But it is still moving forward.
And the Marriott Hotel is still interested in coming to Lowell, is that correct?
It wasn't the Marriott, it was Hilton.
Hilton, yeah, okay.
And we have been talking to developers that are interested in doing that, but nothing has been finalized. We talked to a lot of different people, but nothing is, there's no agreements or contracts or anything.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All set. Councilor Milonazo.
Just quickly, I'm not really sure it's related, but when President Carter was going out of office, Paul Tsongas had him sign the national park legislation on his last day in office. I'm just wondering if we can use Nikki Tsongas' last day in office as the date that this gets done, because it really is so important to make sure that it does get done. So I just offer that as a suggestion.
I'm sorry, Madam Manager.
Thank you. And I did meet with Congresswoman Tsongas a short while ago, and she expressed in particular on this meant quite a bit to her, and she and her staff and office have worked quite hard on trying to effectuate this. It has been taken a long time, but it is certainly one of her priorities.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Next, Crime Stoppers, City Solicitor, Madam Manager. Madam Manager.
Thank you, and through you to the council. Councilor Conway had raised this issue about looking into the Crime Stopper. There was a Lowell Crime Stopper. There was the law department did investigate this, which was a nonprofit group that formed in 2005 and was working with the City of Lowell and the Lowell Police Department, and it didn't file annual statements back in 2012. It then revived itself by filing the statements in 2013. The president was Walter Bayless of the local Crime Stoppers nonprofit organization. There was another individual who I don't believe is from Lowell. And then the third individual, Mr. Jim Scanlon of the LRTA. So right now, it seems that it's inactive, the nonprofit. We have reached out to Mr. Scanlon, who's on vacation, and try and determine, is there an effort to revitalize that. I did speak with the new superintendent of police, who has clear recall of the city police department working with Crime Stoppers and is interested in continuing that. So we will continue to see if the nonprofit would be able to revitalize or come up to date, and perhaps, obviously Mr. Bayless is no longer with us, but someone else acting as president and working with the Lowell Police.
Councilor Conway.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Manager, and I also, I thank the City Solicitor, Christine O'Connor, for putting this report together. Back a number of months ago, I sat down with some police officers, and I asked them, how could we help them? Is there anything that would stand out that might be make their job more effective and efficient and safer for the city of Lowell? And they happened to come up with the Crime Stoppers hotline. To be honest with you, I didn't really know that much about it, but then when I did the research, it seemed like it was a very unusual program. And it started, which I think we talked about a number of weeks ago. It started with a municipality that was trying to solve, I believe it was a murder case, and they were getting nowhere, and they reached out to the community, and they developed this particular program, Crime Stoppers. And the uniqueness of it, because I think most people don't want to get involved. We've heard this time and time again. They don't want to be calling up and giving their name and so forth. With the Crime Stoppers hotline, it's a bit different, because you don't give your name, you actually get a number. And there is a form of a reward if they catch the criminal and they're prosecuted. So again, when I talked to the police officers, they thought that this would be a great idea if we could somehow bring this back. And because obviously it blossomed throughout the entire world. And periodically you hear about it on television where they're getting some tips. As a matter of fact, one of the, a young lady that is missing, they happen to mention Crime Stoppers hotline. And I think that it would be important if we could, again, and I appreciate you reaching out, I think it's important that we get this back working for our police officers. And you know, what Councilor Milanazzo mentioned a little bit earlier about reaching out, I believe it was on the security cameras, reaching out to different partners. I think that's exactly what we should be doing with this here, because that's what the municipality did when they first started the program. So I think if we reach out to the business community, and we all know we have great partners in the city, and if we need help, they're usually there for us. So it would only make the city a bit safer, and I think that the business community and Middlesex Community College, UMass Lowell, perhaps even some of the nonprofits would be willing to sit down and see if there can be some type of a program worked out so we can bring this back to the city of Lowell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, next, grant awards to the Lowell Fire Department. Madam Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Chief Winward here to talk about this wonderful award, the Assistance to the Firefighters Grant that the city did receive, and I'll turn it over to Chief Winward.
Thank you, Madam Manager. So every year we apply for this Assistance to Firefighters Grant. Congress awards roughly $350 million a year to fire departments throughout the country. And it's a very competitive grant process. And this year we were fortunate enough to be awarded $917,000 to replace our personal protective equipment. We'll be able to buy 129 new sets of turnout gear, 80 SCBAs, self-contained breathing apparatus, and a new cascade system to fill our SCBA air bottles. So this is a big win for the fire department and for the city. It'll keep our firefighters safer when they're going into a building fire. It'll protect them from the heat and flames of a fire. It'll help with preventing our firefighters from getting cancer. The cancer rate among firefighters is much higher than the average person. So to be able to have 2 sets of turnout gear, to be able to clean that gear after a fire is going to be a big help in keeping our firefighters safe. So it was a collaborative effort. I got a lot of help from the deputy chiefs, from Marianne Bellata, our public safety grant writer, and her staff, and the support of the city manager and the city council. And I'd like to thank everyone that was involved.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I don't have a question for the chief, but I just wanted to let the manager know that Connor Baldwin can come back. I'll stop bothering him about the extra money for that. Thank you.
I'll pass on the message.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Good, great work. Thank you. Next is the Lowell High School Building Committee appointments. Madam Manager.
Yes, there's a updated list in the packet. There have been some changes, obviously with some changes of personnel, and it's just to let the council know what the current makeup is of the school building committee.
Any questions? Thank you. Next is the Green Communities Grant Award. Madam Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Catherine Moses, who was very much involved in this, is here to explain to the council this award that the city has received.
Thank you, Madam Manager, City Council. Mayor, it's very nice to be before you again. So the city was notified that we received a $250,000 award for the Green Communities Program. This was a competitive award, and we received the maximum amount of funding. In addition to that, we were also able to leverage through utility rebates and other utility awards around $96,000. So we'll be getting around $346,000 worth of work through this grant and through our other funding sources. We're looking to upgrade some interior lighting on several of our schools, as well as get some controls, some wireless thermostatic controls to give us better comfort throughout the buildings.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
Keep that money coming.
Well
Good
said.
job,
Thank
good
you.
job.
Thank you. I need a motion to accept and place these reports on file. Motion by by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Mercia. Next is communications from the city manager, request out-of-state travel for the Department of Planning and Development and the Lowell Regional Waters Utility. Need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
By Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercia. Roll call.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milanazzo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Mercia.
Before we get into the votes for the city manager, there's people here that are very patient. Could we suspend the rules and allow, like, a petition 9.2 miscellaneous Anastasia Sakalaris to speak? She's registered to speak in
All right, we have two such. Right?
9.2.
And I believe we also have.
Under petitions.
Yeah, whenever petitioners want to go.
All right.
I don't think they want to.
All right, 9.2, approval of the council. Anastasia Sakalaris requests permission to address the council regarding air conditioning issues at the Pollard Library.
Yes. Hello, good evening. I'm Anastasia Sakalaris of 29 Norcross Street in Lowell. Dear Madam Manager, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council, isn't it nice and cool in this room? It's so nicely air-conditioned. It must be such a pleasure to be able to work in such a cool, comfortable environment on these hot, humid days. I would not know, because I work at the library and we don't have air conditioning. When the library was renovated in 2002, they put in what was supposed to be central air conditioning, but it has never worked right. I am here before you to plead to finally fix it once and for all. Every summer it is the same Groundhog Day scenario. It starts to work, then it breaks down and doesn't work for weeks. Or it may work in certain parts of the building but not in others. It is especially bad when the City Hall is closed, like in the evenings. The DPW workers come in and try to make it work, but it never does. I'm not blaming the DPW. They try their best, but they just may not be the people to fix it. It is time to hire the right people to do the job, an outside contractor, a company that specializes in this, whatever it takes. It may even need a complete overhaul with a complete new system. Our patrons don't stay any longer than they have to, or they stop coming. Many of them have expressed their discomfort and dismay at the situation. We have an employee with respiratory problems who has needed to go home when it gets bad. We also have an employee who has not been able to bring her service dog to work and finally bought an air conditioner for her office just so that she could bring her dog in. She did it with her own money, which an employee should not have to do so that she can have bearable working conditions. The employees of another office finally did get an air conditioner for their office too. That still does not solve the problem because the rest of the building is extremely uncomfortable, and since staff and patrons use all parts, the entire building should be comfortable. You can't say it's because it's a large and old building, because this building is just as old and large, and the air conditioning works great, doesn't it? It's not just that it is hot either. The ventilation is very poor. Yes, it's going to cost money to fix it once and for all, but I would like to remind you of the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and never is that more true than in the maintenance of buildings. I am hoping systems are in place to prevent another flood like we had this past winter at the library. And I want to thank all those local businesses who donated to help us defray the cost of that nightmare. On our city website, there's a portal by which people can write to the councilors about their concerns. I wrote a few weeks ago about this, yet only one councilor replied. People have told me that they never get replies when they write to this portal. Why does the council not read it? May I make a suggestion that you do? I invite the council members to come into the library on a really hot, humid day or evening, stay a while and see for yourself what it is like. In fact, it would be great to see you at the library anyway. While we have been suffering, many of us on the library staff would have appreciated the opportunity to see you at the library so we could let you know our concerns. I have to assume that all the councilors have library cards. It's discouraging when we don't see the councilors at the library. Since writing this, though, I must say that I did hear that one councilor did visit us this evening, Councilor Leahy, and I thank you very much. Much appreciated. Please fix the air conditioning and ventilation at the library. Let's end this Groundhog Day. The alarm is ringing, and this time, let's get up and go forward with what we should do. Please, we are suffering.
Thank you. Any questions? Council Leahy?
Thank you. If we could just, obviously, we need to check into this, and today, even in the basement, it was uncomfortable, but this is just one of those things that have been lingering, like some of the schools where we just can't get the balancing right or whatever it is. But, you know, if we can't do it in-house, it just needs to be subbed out and fixed. I did get another letter from someone that works at the desk downstairs, Ings Love, I'm gonna get the name wrong, but same concerns, you know? It's just hot down there and it's uncomfortable to work. But again, if we can just, we've talked about the preventive maintenance, and we just have to get people in there that know how to do these things. And I did have one question. Does the library have remember years ago we had discussions about the rugs. So do they have some sort of money set aside, or a foundation or something like that, that we can work this out and try to?
Well, I know Victoria Woodley is here
yeah.
as well, that there's the Friends of the Library, but I don't know that it can be utilized for that. Just to quickly address, as Ms. Secularius had indicated, DPW has been over there all week trying to work on it, trying to get the system working. We're well aware of the problem there, and I think they were able to get the system going somewhat better than it was. There was one night that it was so warm that the library did close because the conditions were just too warm for anybody to work in or to go there. So, you know, Lands and Buildings is trying very hard to address the problem. I think Victoria is going to address a study that she has commissioned, if you want to inform the council.
Anastasia's right that we have had problems with the system, whether it's mechanical or the controls, for almost as long as I can remember. I don't know really what the problem is, but just the last week, the system broke down completely, and so DPW did have to shut off the pumps and everything, purge the system of air, and then try and start it again. When they did, still wasn't working right. They found valves that weren't working right. So it's just one thing after another. But as Anastasia mentioned, we had that horrible flood in January that did so much damage. And what burst up there is part of the heating and ventilation system. So that's when I started trying to get permission to have an evaluation done by an outside company of our system and get recommendations on what needs to be repaired, because till you have an outside company tell you what's wrong, you're not going to have any idea what it's going to cost, and when we need to go from there. That's happening August 21st and 22nd. DPW, at least Jim Green said he'll be there. He's trying to get people that worked on the controls to be available. So I hope we get a good evaluation and a good report that we're paying for, and also recommendations on water leak detection, because we've got to do better than what happened that one time. So any questions about that?
Councilor Kennedy?
Okay.
So we're going to have these HVAC people come in and assess these, they tell us what's the matter and how much it costs. Several months ago, I had filed a motion to ask water detection things. They're like little discs that you can get that will detect water right away. My suggestion was that we do that with the library. But also, too, depending on what the cost of those things are, those devices, it might make sense to have those at many other buildings that we own as well, for the same reason, so that we don't end up with a water disaster from those buildings. And I think specifically probably the high school, probably most of the schools, we just, depending on how much they cost, and I don't know if we ever got a report back on how much they do cost, it might make sense to just outfit the entire inventory of buildings and stuff, so we don't have, because I think
we will look into that.
That the previous administration has looked into, and we just haven't followed through on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also do have an evaluation going on right now that was approved previously, and the advisors and consultants are doing that. And part of it is the water detection system, so we will have a report for you on that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that those discs are a good idea, but in that report that we did get a couple of weeks ago, you know, common sense suggestion is too, when you have that cold snap, you know, you have to get out physically and take a look at these buildings and do certain things that you do in your own house. So, you know, we can't rely technically on technology all the time. You have to physically get out there and take a look at these things. So changing our practices will make it go a long way too.
All right, thank you. All right, I need a motion to refer to the city manager for a report and recommendation. I'm sorry, Councilor Mercia.
If we could then, since we're under suspension, go to 9
I just want to finish
Oh.
this off. I need a motion to accept.
Yeah.
By Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Leahy. All right, you want to suspend for the 9.6?
Yes, please. Only because people are here, and unless they're here for the night, I don't think they appreciate it.
Well, don't want to wish that on. Okay, next we have 9.6, Vilma Ventura, request permission to speak before the council regarding 29 Frothingham Street. Do we have the person?
Yeah, we have a speaker. Is the petitioner speak?
Yes.
Okay.
So is the petitioner here? Vilma Ventura?
We have a registered speaker. Petitioner's not here. Registered speaker is Robert Mason.
Okay. Mr. Mason?
Good evening. I'm Robert Mason. I live at 39 Frothingham Street. We had last spoke to the council on the 10th of July regarding the property at 29 Frothingham Street that Mr. Ventura owns, and I had registered tonight when it was my understanding he was going to speak. I had we had mailed to us a demand for compliance from the building commissioner, and I had handed it to you, Mr. Mayor, and Mrs. Manager. I left one in your office, and I was just kind of curious as to if this is going to be enforced or not, because to this point it has not. This property next door to me is still a three-family home, and it's been that way for almost a year. Is that correct, Mrs. Flagel?
Madam Manager, yes.
So, but anyway, again, this demand for compliance is dated July 12th. The property is still a three-family. I've lived at this home that I live at in 61 years. To the best of my knowledge, the only three-family east of Route 133, east of Route 38 rather, and south of 133 is the large home on the corner of Adam Terrace and Andover Street. And if this demand compliance is not going to be enforced, I'd like to know why. And when I asked for expedited response on July 12th, I'm asking for one tonight. I still haven't heard a response from last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slagle, did you add anything to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. I do believe that the mayor's office got a copy of the letter that was issued by former building commissioner Sean Shanahan regarding the property. He was provided information. My understanding is that information indicated that the property had been renovated by the current owners, that the basement had been renovated without the benefit of permits. That was different from the information that we had before it was provided to the commissioner. The building owner, during the issue that came up last year, did pull permits to convert the basement from a separate unit into a portion of the first floor unit. So as of the last time an inspector from Development Services was in the property, it is not a three-family, it is a two-family. However, there is still an existing violation in that the work that was done to convert the basement in the first place from unfinished space into finished space was done without the benefit of a permit. So at this time, the former building commissioner issued the notice of violation, ordered the individual to come in and pull permits, and indicated that if that wasn't done, the property would be fined, the property owner would be fined, and the city would reserve the right to obtain an administrative search warrant and take steps up to and including condemning the basement and forcing the use of it as not living space. As the council is no doubt aware, the building commissioner resigned. His last day was at the end of June. This was not resolved prior to his taking his new job. The property owner is being fined currently. He had, prior to the deadline that was outlined in the letter, come into Development Services and indicated that he was seeking a contractor to, with a certified contractor that was required by the building commissioner to come in and pull the permits that the building commissioner required. And he spoke to Mr. Shanahan, indicated that he did not believe he would be able to do it within the 10 days in the letter. Mr. Shanahan indicated that as long as he indicated he was making progress and did it, with all due speed, that he wouldn't impose the fines. However, at this point in time, it has been much longer than I believe that the building commissioner anticipated allowing the property owner, Mr. Ventura, to obtain a building permit, and he has not. And as such, the acting building commissioner has been finding the property. At this time, since in the 2 weeks that Sean has been gone, we have not been into the property to verify whether or not the property is, the work has been done to bring it back into compliance. And therefore, we're going to, we still have kind of the remedies that are allowed to the city to either go through the court system using the law department or continue to issue fines against the property owner until he brings the property into compliance.
Councilor Conway, then Councilor Cirillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that this has come in front of the city council a number of times. Can anyone verify that?
I can.
Okay.
Most of us can.
Right. Well, the bottom line here is we're talking about $1,000 per day. Has this been, and I know you gave them some leeway, so in that situation, did you ask for, or the city solicitor asked for, like a retroactive, if they don't meet that, they have to go back and pay those fines? Well, what I'm saying is, let me see if I can explain it a little bit different. Correct me if I'm wrong here. It says penalties in the amount of $1,000 per day per violation. Is that correct?
That's what's authorized under the 148A.
Okay. Have we collected any money yet?
No, those fines, again, this letter was dated in mid-July, so we have not.
Okay. But they also gave the owner a certain amount of days in leeway. He asked for additional days. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And yet he didn't meet that goal.
That's also correct, yes.
Okay. So where do we go from here? Because I'd hate to have these people come back again in another 3 weeks or 4 weeks and 5 weeks or whatever it may be, because something still hasn't taken place. What, after this here, if we find that, and we say a demand, we understand that, but what happens if, in reality, what happens if they don't comply to this, in reality?
Well, as I've mentioned to the council before, we have a couple of different avenues that we take in an effort to compel compliance. The first is fines. We issue fines against the property owner, and the goal of those fines is not as a revenue source for the city, but as to compel compliance. If the city manager and staff and the city solicitor's office deem that that fining is not compelling compliance, then what we do is we reach out to the city solicitor's office and ask them to file suit against the property owner to obtain court-compelled compliance, or in a case as Mr. Shanahan mentioned here, we can go to housing court to attempt to get an administrative search warrant that would allow us to condemn the portion of the property that's out of compliance.
So what you're saying actually is that this could be still an additional, a long process before this is rectified? Because of the different options we're talking about. Is that correct?
I think that the process, unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that housing court was a quick process, but the process that we have, if fining and issuing violations on the city level doesn't work, our next step is to go to court. I mean, those are our remedies.
Thank you.
Councilor Cirillo?
Hi, yes. So no permits were pulled for the basement. So I'm going to take a gander and say that there were no inspections that were done in that basement. So I'm thinking about safety hazards, fire hazards, and that concerns me for the neighbors of this house. That if there's a fire hazard in that basement because there were no permits pulled, there were probably no inspections done. So I'm concerned about the neighboring houses, and also I'm finding that how many fines have been given to this owner, because it doesn't seem like the fines are working. And the more that we fine and the more time that we wait, I feel the more time that the neighbors in their homes are not safe because of this house.
I would say that your concerns are the reason that the building commissioner, once he had the information he had, issued the letter that the manager and the mayor have.
So how many more fines will we give to this owner before we do decide to move forth to file a suit?
Well, I think that's I think at this point in time, it's probably a little preliminary, because we are hoping that the individual is going to pull a permit. But if he doesn't, I will certainly sit down with the city solicitor and make a determination as to when she believes and the city manager believes it's an appropriate time to take those steps.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Manager?
Thank you. Just briefly, so when this was before the council in July, following that presentation, there was information presented. I don't know what happened a year ago. I can only tell you what happened this July. Information was presented to the building commissioner that evidenced a number of things. One, there was an affidavit from the prior owner saying they had not refinished the basement. And two, there was also information from a realtor who sold the house during that period of time that indicated this was an unfinished basement. Based on that information, the building commissioner Shanahan sent out a letter, a demand for compliance, which included 10 days, bring it within compliance. If you don't, $1,000 a day per violation will commence. And then also there are other avenues, as Mr. Slagle has pointed out. Now, sometimes a building owner may not respond to the city at all and just ignore it. In this case, the owner did contact the building commissioner, came in or phoned. I'm not quite sure which, but I believe the property owner came in to say that they would have to have time to hire a contractor to pull the building permits in response to the commissioner's letter. Based on my conversations with the building department, when a property owner does come in and indicates a willingness to cooperate with the demand, it's not unusual for the city to give them a reasonable time to comply. So we don't have a property owner who didn't respond. They responded, but they indicated they would come in and with a plan and with a contractor to pull the permits. So the 10-day notice was sent out on July 12th. You can presume maybe they received it July 13th. The 10 days runs, and then the fines commence. So the fines are being assessed now. That's an option that the city has, and the city has commenced fining the owner because the owner did not get back within a reasonable time or with a plan. Obviously, it appears that the owner petitioned to address the council tonight. I don't believe the owner has, again, spoken with the building department. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So I don't know what the owner was planning to say to the council, but the point is, from the July 23rd or so forward, even though there may have been a conversation about we'll give you a reasonable period of time, it would warrant some communication in terms of compliance. So that's where we're at. I can't tell you what the plan is by this property owner because they didn't get back to the building department. As I said, they petitioned to come before you, to talk to you. I don't know what they planned to say. All I know is that we do have a situation. This is an ongoing thing, and now the city did take action to say you're not in compliance. You didn't have building permits. Based on all the credible information we now have, there were not proper permits pulled to finish that basement, period. Whether it's part of the first floor or not, that permits should have been pulled. So that's where we're at. If they ignore, and now the issue is what's a reasonable time. So as I said, the city commenced fines, which are a lien against their property. And those mount up very quickly if the property owner just ignores the city. What other avenues? Like any type of enforcement, there's one avenue of trying to go to court to gain access to go in and condemn that portion of the property. So it's a progressive kind of approach that would have to be taken. But that's where we're at this point.
Thank you.
It was Councilor Elliott, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Milonazo, and Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's good that we're at this point because I can't recall when the first time Councilor Leahy filed this motion, but it was well over a year and a half ago, where we had the Masons coming down telling us there was illegal building going on in the basement. And I don't know why it's taken us so long to finally get this compliance or demand for compliance, but I'm glad we are, Madam Manager, because the Masons were led to believe that, well, you know, it was sold as a three-family. They have ability to do that. We don't have permits, and work was going on, and there were, you know, cars, 8, 9 cars, and there's some vindication for the Masons and for us that have went and visited, saying it was sold, and the affidavit by the previous owner says it was sold, and there wasn't a basement that was finished, and permits were not issued. So, you know, it's good that we're at this point, but we were led to believe that, you know, this was all copacetic, and it wasn't. We knew it, and I'm glad we're moving in this direction. But this is just one case of a pattern that takes place in the city where people are just converting to rent out and make a 2-family or a 3-family. And this will serve as a message that, you know, you can't just do that. We have zoning codes, we have building codes, we have safety codes, and if you want to do this, there's a process to go through. So I'm pleased to see the report and that the city did act. I wish it was a little bit more timely, because I mean, I can remember pictures coming in saying they're putting in these storm windows that you wouldn't put in any other place in the house, or hurricane windows. in any event, it's just frustrating that I feel bad for the Masons that they had to go through this, but I think it will serve as notice that moving forward, we're going to follow up. This will ultimately not end well, and you have to abide by the law. So I thank you, Madam Manager, for the report, and there's many more taking place, unfortunately, in the city, and I think we need to be aggressive on this. So thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The abutters and the residents in this neighborhood, they've been down here several times, over several months. They're down here again tonight. I don't think they're down here tonight because they're happy with the progress that's been made on this matter so far. I think that probably what they are is very frustrated with the progress. I think the property itself was supposed to be, and I think that Council Leahy made this point when he first brought in the motion several months ago, was that it's supposed to be a two-family house. Now, they may maintain, and maybe even our own department's maintaining that it is a two-family house, but I don't think anybody that lives around there thinks it's a two-family house. I think they think it's a three-family house, and I think that they think that that basement has been done over into a third unit. And that's kind of where the matter lies. And it's fine to be fining people, but I don't think the neighbors are down here because they want the place to be fined. They're down here because they want it to revert back to a two-family house. And that's where we should be going. And I think that this council in this city has been very patient with the property owner for a long time, and that our patience should run out. And I think the neighbors' patience should have run out as well. And that what we should be doing at this point is just taking a hard line with this property owner. And if there were never any permits filed for the basement, then make him take that out and return it back to an unfinished basement and make sure that it stays a two-family house. I guess I just don't understand why this has taken so long and why these neighbors have to come here time and time again. And I would suspect that they're wondering why they have to come down here time and time again on a matter like this. It's supposed to be a two-family house. When the property owner bought the property, he knew it was a two-family house. He had to know that he shouldn't be turning it into a three-family house, and he also had to know that he needed to get permits if he was going to do the basement, and didn't want to get the permits because then it was going to be revealed that it would be a three-unit house rather than a two-family house. But I really think, Madam Manager, that we have to take a hard line on this so that we don't have it be that 6 weeks or 8 weeks from now the neighbors are back down again because they continue to be frustrated about the lack of action from the city. Thank you.
Councilor Ilanazzo.
I just wanted to point out, the city is acting. And, you know, the first I knew of this was the beginning of July when the Masons came. So, and I realize that's just an explanation. I'm just, you know, but the city did issue this notice and the city will proceed on this. So, you know, I can't explain what happened before, and I understand what the stories are, but the city will proceed, and the homeowner knows that, or should know that, and we'll have to follow proper channels as far as what we do next steps. But the fines are ongoing, and we'll be in conversation with the law department as to where we go. But we do have to follow the law as far as what we do.
Thank you. Mr. Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is very frustrating. If I lived next door to this house, I would be down here every Tuesday night, and I feel terrible for the neighbors that they're going through this. I understand there are 12 cars there. My question is, why would we even entertain a building permit application at this point? I don't even understand why we would entertain it. I would go to housing court tomorrow morning and file whatever Eric Slagle mentioned relative to an enforcement order, and get in there and do an inspection and close it down. I mean, the old days, going back 30 years, DPW would be out front, the water department would be shutting the water off. I know the solicitor wouldn't want me to say that, you know, obviously, but at the end of the day, this is ridiculous what the neighbors are going through. And this person, or the property owner who now has a three-family, maybe he doesn't care at this particular point because he thinks that we're just bluffing. We're not going to fine, you're saying we are going to fine them $1,000 a day, but are they going to pay $40,000? Are they going to pay $40,000 to the city to get a building permit? I wouldn't give them a building permit. There are a number
of actions that
I wouldn't give them a building permit. I would absolutely not give them a building permit.
through you to, if the solicitor could answer this. I wish we could take law into our
I'd
own
also
hands.
do, I would also do
Yeah.
a mail search, by the way. You can go to the United States Post Office and do a mail search, and that mail search will tell you how many people are living there. Go to the United States Post Office and do a mail search.
So with respect to the fines are apparently being assessed. The way the fines work, the council had many years ago adopted provisions so that when fines are issued, they will, if unpaid, they automatically will roll onto your taxes. So one way or another, they will get paid, and if they don't get paid, it will constitute, as the manager said, a lien on the property, and every spring, we have our lien auction, and off that would go to a collector. With respect to the merits of how this property is being used and the permit history, tomorrow, Eric Slagle and I can meet and review it. I think one of the things that the manager was referring to is we will need, the law department would need a better sense as to really how this property is being used. And typically, while I understand the concerns that have been repeatedly raised, the process would normally be that somebody could come in for a permit. Under normal circumstances, you would have a right to redo, say, a basement or other improvements in your house. What you wouldn't have a right to do is to do that and then use it in a way that's going to violate the zoning. So we'll look at all of that. You're right with respect to the postage, the mail. I had a trial, actually, and that was one of the things that the city relied on. We also had testimony from a newspaper deliverer. But we will pursue all that and prepare, law department will prepare a response for the council for next week.
Okay. You all say Councilman Lazo? Councilman Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If his lack of appearance here tonight is any indication of his sincere concern to make things right and to cooperate, he just failed in my eyes. That's my comment on this.
Yeah. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just wanted to add that, you know, what everybody said here tonight is just, we're just frustrated with the property. I live in that neighborhood. I know the house and everything, and, you know, we can say, it's just frustrating that we know that the house is being used for non-compliance there. It's supposed to be a two-family. You would have a reasonable amount of cars, reasonable amount of people going in and out of the house, but there's just too many cars on the street, too many people going in and out of the house, and, you know, God forbid something happen, a fire or something. It's not only for the people that live there, but for the neighborhood. So, you know, that's what the urgency is about this too, and it has been going on for a long time, and it's just frustrating. So anything we can keep moving on this would be appreciated. Thank you.
Madam Manager, you know, from my point, you know, you're actually new to this particular problem, but we've been, I'd say, at least a year and a half on this issue. And the neighborhood groups that will be watching us tonight, this is an example of their concerns in every neighborhood. You know that. And basically, this process seems to show us, I mean, as an example of ineptitude, not being able to deal with this. So the things that I think we have to look at concrete steps. I understand it's a process, but it's been well over a year and a half, and we seem no closer today than we were a year and a half ago. So we all have that concern, and it's not just what the Masons, what they're facing. We have to go back to every neighborhood and say we are capable of keeping your neighborhood intact. And right now, we're not displaying that. Madam Manager?
Yeah, thank you, and I agree with the comments that have been made. I just want to reiterate, and I think it's no solace to the Masons or the neighbors, but this process, when we talk about process, just started July 12th. It didn't start a year and a half ago. That's the problem, okay? And that is the problem for this property, and it's going to be a problem for other properties, that we need to be more proactive on these complaints and not let them languish. So the reality is this has been going on for a long time, but when we look at the legal process, what steps the city has to take by law, it started July 12th, and it will proceed, but I just want to make that clear.
But Madam Manager, that's what we're all, I think most of us stating. It's just, it should have started a long time ago before you entered this process.
I can't speak to why
I
it
know
didn't.
that.
All I can say is for this property and other properties, the city has to be more proactive when complaints are issued to pursue them and to find out what is actually going on.
Okay. I need a motion to refer this to the Law Department for report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor Kennedy. Thank you. All right, we're back on the schedule again. Did we cover this? No, we did this, right?
Vote on the votes.
Okay. All right, now votes from the city manager. Vote to accept the gift of $200 from the committee to elect David Nangle for literacy program at Pollard Library. Waive the full reading, the second reading by title. Authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept the gift from the committee to elect Dave Nangle of $200 for the use by the Pollard Memorial Library in support of a literacy program. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor Noon. Roll call, please.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott. Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
8 yeas.
All right, Councilor Noon.
Can we maybe also send a thank you letter to State Rep
Absolutely.
Nangle? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry, did we do 5.3, the out-of-state travel? Did we?
Yes, we did.
We did? Okay.
Long night. Okay, 6.2, vote to accept the gift from the Whitman and Bingham Association LLC. Waive the full reading, second reading by title. Authorize the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept the gift from the Whitman and Bingham Associates LLC to provide land surveying services on the property located at 150 Douglas Road, which is a value of $6,800 to continue the process to develop the parcel into a Veterans Park for the use by the Department of Public Works. I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercier. Roll call.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
All right, next, vote to authorize the city manager to execute an MOU, memorandum of understanding to the Lowell Police Superior Officer Association. Waive the full reading, second reading by title. Authorize the city to council to ratify and approve the execution of the city manager of the memorandum of understanding between the city of Lowell, Lowell Police Superior Officers Association, covering the period of July 1, 2018 through July 30th, 2001. Madam Manager, do you want to say anything before I ask for the motion?
I'm happy to explain the terms. This is a 3-year contract. We reached agreement with the superior officers of the police department last week. They actually had a vote on it later in the day on Friday, and the memorandum of understanding was finalized over yesterday and finally accepted today. So the council had been provided a copy, hopefully on your desks, but as well as by email this afternoon once everything was finalized. The 3-year contract, Mr. Mayor, provides that it's from July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. The wage package or COLA agreement amounts to just under 5% over 3 years. It's slightly less than the previous agreement or contract. It constitutes 2% increase in this fiscal year. Next fiscal year, 2% increase, which is staggered 1% on July 1st, and then 1% on January 1st. The third year is a 2% increase. However, the 1% commences on July 1st. The last 1% is June 30th of that year, and therefore actually goes into the next fiscal year, which gives us time to plan for that between now and going into the fourth year. In addition to the COLA agreement that was reached, there's also language that will allow for the installation of dashboard cameras on roughly 90% of our police fleet, what are known as the step cars. Again, something that is beneficial to the public, to the police department in terms of record and transparency. There's also a provision for mandatory mediation in all cases where arbitration is being requested. There's also change in language to move to the DLR for arbitration requests as opposed to the American Arbitration Association, something that the parties agreed to and that the city had requested. And also there is a implementation of a random drug testing policy. There is also a provision for a 3% step increase on a member of the superior officer's 10th anniversary of as a permanent officer in the superior officers union. This is intended to address what the evidence had demonstrated, is that over the past years it has been difficult to have officers who are eligible to take the sergeant's exam. There's been a disincentive, so to speak, and this is intended to incentivize them to take the exam. I provided some information to the council, which essentially showed that in 2015, if you bear with me 1 second. In 2015, when there were 134 officers eligible to take the exam, only 34 took the exam. In 2017, when there were 140 officers eligible to take the exam, only 57 took the exam, and there was also a significant fail rate, so therefore the number who were eligible to move to sergeant was a much smaller number than had happened in years past, especially 10 or 15 years ago. The point of this is to create an incentive for patrol officers to move into superior officers union, and adding this incentive at the 10-year mark. So this is one tool that can be used to try and incentivize a greater pool of candidates to take the sergeant's exam. And finally, we also discussed, included in the memorandum of understanding, that we'll continue discussing the implementation and use of body cameras. That's a larger issue in terms of not only expense for the city and for the police department, but how it would be implemented in terms of where the data would be stored, what type of personnel would be required. So we would continue to work not just with the new chief, but with the union discussing that, as well as language exploring opportunities for assignment of light duty, and that will be a continued discussion. So that's in some the outline of what the agreement provides.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Councilor Conway, and second by Councilor Kennedy. Roll call.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
All right, next on the ordinances, amend and add new article of pilot bicycling share service. I need a motion to refer to a public hearing on August 28, 2018 at 7 p.m.
Seconded.
Motion by Kennedy, second by Councilor Cirillo. Motion passes. Report on subcommittee, ad hoc election subcommittee, July 25th, 2018, and ad hoc elections Subcommittee August 1st. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. We did have two meetings, as you stated, one in the back central and South Lowell. We get a decent turnout there. Again, people talk about, the concern that they have, particularly in the back central. They talk about, they feel as if they are forgotten, and so they raise a couple issues, and I know that one's going to be in Councilor Leahy motion with regard to the train idling, for hours long. The concern people raise is representation. They want to see representation, in neighborhood representation, and they feel that maybe there should be a change. Then the Centerville Neighborhood Association, they host another one. Councilor Kennedy's and Councilor Cerola's there, and the one at back central, Councilor Leahy, and myself, and Councilor Kennedy was there, and as well as Councilor Cerola. So in Centerville, one or two, I believe one person actually like the current system. He thinks that, the current system works well. But majority of the people that attend those meetings feel that, representation would certainly a big plus for the neighborhood. So, and that's Councilor Leahy and Councilor Kennedy can add to it if they would like to.
Awesome. Thank you for the report. I need a motion to accept the report as a report of progress.
So moved.
By Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Cirillo. Thank you. Next, we have the wire inspector system at AT&T requests permission to install underground cable conduit on Aiken Street at the intersection of Father Morissette Boulevard. I need a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying report. Motion accepted by Councilor Conway, second by Councilor Mercia. Next, wire inspector system incorporated AT&T require permission to install underground cable conduit on the University Ave between Riverside Street and the VFW Highway. Motion to accept and adopt the accompanying report by Councilor Conway, second by Councilor Noon. Under petitions, claims for property damage, I need a motion to refer to the Law Department report and recommendations.
So moved.
By Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercia. Thank you. Then we go to miscellaneous. Carolyn Jarek, the attorney Brian occasion requests city to abandon a portion of Paper Street known as LeQuinn Avenue. I need a motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation.
So moved.
By Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Cirillo. Next, we have miscellaneous. Donald Doubleday Jr. requests city repair the island at the end of the cul-de-sac on Sherry Lee Lane. I need a motion to refer to the city manager for a report and recommendation by Councilor Conway, second by Councilor Leahy. Next, we have under miscellaneous, Kathleen Velton Hemway requests city purchase property located at 8 Newbury Street and establish a park at that location. A motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and a recommendation by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Noon. Next, we did that one. Next, we have Ricky Rathenbaugh requests installation of overhanging sign at 108 Merrimack Street. A motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Milanazzo. Next, we have the miscellaneous James Saunders. Lowell makes requests installation of an overhanging sign at 115 Merrimack Street. A motion to refer to the Law Department for a report recommendation by Councilor Cirillo, second by Councilor Conway. Next, we have under miscellaneous, John McDonough requests City Council make South Street two-way direction when school is not in session. Change Father Ronan Terrace to one-way easterly and install stop sign on it. Motion refer to track engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Leahy. You want to speak on the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did receive a call from Mr. McDonough he was unable to be here this evening, and he thought that because he wasn't able to be here, that he didn't know what to do, and I told him, I believe it'll be referred to the law department or to the engineer, but whatever happens, it'll be referred somewhere, so
Go
you'll...
to traffic engineer.
Right. So he said to reiterate that from Father Ronan to the Highland Street is one way during school hours. Make it two-way when school is not in session and on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. That was the gist of his request. Only one way when school is in session. That was the gist of what he wanted me to say, so they understand that from that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. All right, next, 9/11, Verizon New England requests permission to install underground conduit and handhold for access to Pawtucket Street over the Northern Canal Bridge. A motion to refer to a public hearing on August 28, 2018 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Cirillo, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Thank you. Next, Verizon New England again requests permission to install 184 feet of underground conduit at 165 Thorndike Street. Motion to refer to a public hearing on August 28, 2018 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Milonazo. Thank you. All right, we're now into motions by Councilor Leahy. Request city manager to investigate the reason for idling trains in the Lawrence Street area. Need a second? Second. By Councilor Noon. Thank you.
Thank you. To the manager, the motion speaks for itself. This just came up at the Sacred Heart, actually the election committee meeting that we had with Councilor Noon. So just a concern with trains closer to Moore Street than anywhere else. So if we could just check into that.
Councilor Noon?
I mentioned this about a week or so ago to Carol Keefe regarding this, and I think the Congresswoman Saunders is working on this as well to try to get a contact person so that the neighborhood can can call them. I know that they contact the Congresswoman Saunders contact the Federal Railroad Administration and to see if they can have some meeting and some contact information so that neighbor, when that happens, they can give a call to that contact person to have the train move over there. So it's a good thing.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as back when Hector was a pup, and it was Guilford Transportation, and then it became Pan Am, and Madam Manager was sitting aside of us as a city councilor. This has come before us time and time and time again. As to investigate the reasons for the idling, there's no reason available. They just sit there and do it. And they transmit all this emission that goes in the windows of people. There's no reason for it. And we can find them till we're black and blue in the face and nothing. They're very irresponsible. Maybe Pan Am is different, we'll see. But good luck with that motion. It's been on the agenda for years and years and years. And I just I'm frustrated
Madam Manager.
Thank you. Through you. We'll get a report. I know, part of the problem is federal law in the railroads trump anything that we on a local or state level can do. We did many times try and work with Pan Am. I remember the name of the CEO, Mr. Fink, and I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, and he was, but that's beside
we,
the point.
they were not cooperative in the past as far as they would live within what they're allowed to do under federal law. If they exceed that, that's a different story, and then the federal government can step in. But Congresswoman Saunders' office is aware of this as well. But we will get you a full report on what they can do, what they can't do. But it is certainly a perennial problem, and it's more than an annoyance for the neighborhood. And there was an incident where it was leaking a toxic product, and they wouldn't even tell us what the product was back in the day. So that's, it's not just the noise and the fumes, but we don't know what they're carrying, and they don't have to tell us. But we'll get you that report.
And their creosote railroad ties It took an act of Congress to try to get them to remove them so kids weren't playing on them, getting contaminated.
Right, and
They're hard to
the
deal
neighborhood
with.
is very close to those
Sure.
tracks.
Thank you.
It-
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council Kennedy.
as long as we're going to be communicating with the railroad, could we also see if they can't clean up some of those homeless camps that exist during different segments of the corridor, particularly in the vicinity of Walker Street? But there are others besides that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the idling of the trains by the Western Avenue studios, it causes really a lot of havoc for them. But, you know, I was told that it's economic reasons because it's cheaper for them to idle the train engines rather than shut them down. This, you know, it's hard to buy this, but I mean, environmentally, don't we, I mean, is there a possibility from that aspect?
We'll get you the report. We've been over this ground when I was here, when I was in the Senate, when Congressman Meehan was here. We you know, the federal law gives them great leeway as to what they can do, and they can leave it idling. There's just so many days. It depends on whether it's weekend days, but we'll get you the full report.
Thank you. Council Leahy requests city manager update council regarding White Building and Butler School grounds. I need a second by Council Mercia. Council Leahy.
Thank you. So I couldn't get the address in time, but the building at the Butler School, it used to be the old Luz building. So we've had many motions on this too, and just, the roof is open, so it's gotta be ready to fall down, but it is a brick building, but still, if we could just find out why that hasn't been condemned yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, by Council Leahy, request city manager update the council regarding the appointment of a neighborhood service coordinator for the city. Need a second? By Council Noon.
Thank you. And this speaks for itself, and I know you're working on it, so when you could get us an update, thank you.
Okay. Next is a motion by Council Leahy and Elliott, does not require a second. City Council endorses a rally to promote unity celebration in the community on August 28th at City Hall. Council Leahy, Council Elliott.
Thank you. What I want to do with this is basically a few weeks, well, with all the shootings in the last year, especially with law enforcement, tragic deaths, and then a couple of weeks ago we had more policemen shot at in Falmouth. And I was watching the news, and you know, there's a 10-year-old kid having a lemonade stand to support the police department. So basically what this is just a way for us to get together, unite, and just to say enough is enough. You know, we want to support the police department, and we want to support the community. We have to work together to stop this, and I just thought it was a good idea to have this. It'd be a simple type to get together at 5 o'clock on the steps in a couple of weeks.
Thank
So
you.
that's what it is.
All right. Council Elliott, did you want to?
No, I think Council Leahy wrapped it up pretty well. We do a lot of celebrations and recognitions, and I think this is an important step. It's an important measure to show support throughout the community and for our police officers that we appreciate what you do, and we know it's sometimes very dangerous, and you know, the trend that's taken place some other parts of the state, it's a concern. So I support the motion, which is why I signed on to it, and I think it'll go a long way to bring unity throughout the community.
Thank you. All set. Okay, next motion by Council Elliott, request city manager explore feasibility of creating a 15-minute parking space at 178 University Ave for local businesses. Need a motion to second? By Council Kennedy.
Motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Okay. Next, by Council Mercia, require city council supporting display of a bust of George E. Cole Harris in the foyer of City Hall next to a bust of Clement McDonough at no expense to the city. Need a motion to accept? A second? Second by Council Elliott. You want to, okay, Councilor Milonazo?
Again, the maker of the motion, if you'd like to speak first, that's fine, but I would like to move in substitution.
Okay, so I just speak on it.
Okay.
I was asked by the family of Judge Kula Harris to present this motion And as you know, I'm a messenger, so if people ask me, I do what I'm asked. For George D. Harris to allow a bust of Mr. Harris to be displayed in the foyer of City Hall next to his friend and colleague Clement McDonough. George was the son of Greek immigrants and lived his entire life in the Acre section of the city. He first embraced his civic responsibility in 1925 as a young 12-year-old Boy Scout, where he raced to the second floor of a burning building apartment to rescue a baby from certain death. And I have received from the family copies of the newspaper, and rather than put it on your desk this evening, I brought it to Michael Gary, the city clerk, to put it in your packet so that you could peruse it. Near the end of his life, as a 90-year-old senior citizen, he pulled a 45-year-old Hispanic man intent on committing suicide from a bridge rail, holding him on the ground until police arrived to address the needs of that individual. While serving as a PTO president, public school advocate, Lowell School Committee member for close to 40 years, as the father of the Greater Lowell Vocational School Committee, are establishing in his will a $10,000 scholarship for graduating Lowell High School immigrants. George always advocated for what he believed was in the best interest of all the school children of Lowell. True to his Hellenic heritage, George spent a lifelong devotion to education and what he believed was his civic duty and responsibility as an American and Lowellian to serve the children of this city and provide them with the best education possible. I would like, through this motion, propose that a bronze bust of the Judge D. Harris commissioned by his family be placed in the lobby of City Hall in honor of George and his family, and recognize the devotion he displayed for decades to his beloved city of Lowell. All expenses incurred will be borne by the Harris family, and I'm just presenting the message that I was asked to do, and I'm doing it. Thank you.
Councilman Milazzo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. If the maker of the motion doesn't object, I'd like to move in substitution that we refer the motion to the city manager's office, because I really truly believe that we need a policy in place, similar to what we did with the Veterans Council. When we were going to name a Veteran Square, we ended up setting a policy in place that I really truly believe does work. So I think that we should refer this to the manager's office to work with the law department and others to come up with a policy for something as important as this.
Second on that?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cirillo. Okay. Should we have a roll call? Does anybody want to speak on the motion? Roll call.
Substitute, roll call on the substitute motion. Council Newman.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Matt.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Layton.
Yes.
Council Mercy.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay. Next, by Councilor Mercy, request city manager to have the Department of Planning and Development provide a detailed presentation justifying how filling in the Lord Overpass will be an improvement to the traffic congestion problem in that area. Need a second by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, I just don't know where we are with this. I know that this council voted some time ago to support this proposal, but the more I thought of it, the more I don't see, and I know that you went out of your way to get $15 million, but the fact remains that I don't see how we can take an underpass of like 40,000 cars and put them up and meet them up at the top together. I don't understand that, so if Diane Trad can put together a presentation to make me aware of this. Sometimes I'm a little thick, so maybe it's a good thing, I don't know, but the more I made the motion, people are saying, I feel the same way, so I really don't get what's happening. I would think that if it was that way and we were reversing it to create half of the traffic to go under it, then I could understand that, but this, I really don't, and I'm sorry to bring this up. I don't want to throw a wrench in the plans, but I honestly feel I feel I made a mistake when I voted for it, because maybe my colleagues understand it, but I think we should have been shown it. And maybe they think it's the greatest idea. I don't. I think I made a mistake. I voted too prematurely on something I thought the expertise of the city engineer, the traffic engineer, I thought, I'm going by what they say. They're the professionals. I'm not. But the more I thought of it, I scratch my head and say, what, did I make a mistake here? So I'm sorry, Madam Manager. But
Madam Manager.
Thank you. I have asked Diane Trad to bring in a presentation. I'm not involved, was never involved with the design. We just bring the money in and then the design happens. But, and I think, you know, it does seem complicated to understand it. So I did ask her to make a presentation to the council, and so everybody at home can understand how this is going to work. I was as surprised as you or others as far as the fill-in. So we'll see, though they say the lanes and the way the bus lanes will be aligned. But I asked her to present to the council on that and to have the experts.
And how does it affect businesses that are going to go into the Thorndike Exchange? How is that going to create economic development at its best when we're just closing in traffic to meet each other? What are we making, 7 lanes up at the top? I don't understand, honestly.
Yeah, we'll get you the report.
Thank you.
I never saw the presentation either, so I'm looking forward to
I don't know if my
so.
colleagues saw a presentation, but I certainly...
I know there were community meetings. There was one plan that was arrived at, and then based on the input from community, the community asked for more input, and they went back, and I think there was some redesign that happened at that point as a result of community input. So, but we will get that to you.
Thank you.
I mean, one of the things it will do is make accessibility into the Hamilton Canal much more, much easier to achieve by opening up Jackson Street all the way and aligning with Fletcher, but we'll get you that report. And I did ask, instead of a paper report, because sometimes those things on paper are confusing to present it here.
Yes.
You know, in the chamber, in English,
Sure.
lay it out for us. When I say English, I just mean in words so that we can understand and ask questions.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. Thank you. Next, by Councilor Conway, request city manager include with each motion response of the work hours that it took to accomplish the task, and further include estimates of costs for each motion. Second by Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that in government, we don't really, and sometimes I don't think that we show the public the accountability that we actually have. And I think that no matter what business you're in, there is some form, obviously, of accountability, because you have to take a look at the bottom line, and the bottom line being profit. Not that we're looking for a profit here in the in a municipality, but I think that we have to prioritize. I think that certainly on the floor here, we've talked about so many important things that we have to address. We've got public safety, education, the drugs and the gang problems, economic development, parking. We have traffic issues, and the city manager and his staff only have so many hours in the course of the day. So I'm wondering that if we could somehow think about maybe streamlining things a bit as far as the motions are concerned. I look at some of the motions, and I'm guilty myself, where perhaps a telephone call to the city manager or to the assistant city manager, we can get the answer in a matter of minutes instead of having her staff sit down and put a report together. So that's why I just like to find out what these motions do in reality, how much are they costing, and how much time is actually spent on them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you. I understand Mr. Conway wants a roll call vote on this motion. I don't plan to support the motion. I understand where he's coming from, but at the end of the day, I'm not looking to stifle discussion here in the chambers, and I think a motion like this could possibly do that. I'm not saying that it would do it, but it could possibly do it. And as I look down the line of my colleagues, and I look at Councilor Noon, who's involved in public safety issues and education issues, Councilor Leahy, who's involved in facilities management, workout gear for the fire department, Councilor Mercy, who's involved with veterans and parks issues, and Councilor Kennedy, economic development, Councilor Elliott, fiscal issues, Councilor Conway, public safety education, Councilor Cirillo, issues with the green. We all have our own issues that we want to bring forward. And the fact that some people may think an issue is trivial, my father used to have a saying, that's why Howard Johnson says 28 flavors of ice cream, because everybody has a different idea. And I don't see this motion, and again, I heard him say on the radio that he wants a roll call to put us all to the test here. Well, my vote is no, because I'm not looking to stifle anybody's discussion. If anybody wants to bring anything forward, they can bring it forward. If the manager needs to prioritize how she responds to those motions, that's perfectly fine. That's up to the administration. But I don't think we as an elected body should stifle discussion in the chamber.
Councilor Conway?
Just very briefly, I have absolutely no intentions of stifling any discussions. That's up to everyone, and I think Councilor Milanazzo just explained it very well, that each and every one of us have we have specific issues that we want to bring forward, and that's fine. All I'm saying is that, again, in every business in the real world, we come up with some type of, again, accountability on what things cost, and I think it's important that we let the taxpayer know this. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Kennedy?
Yeah, I think, similar to what Councilor Milanazzo thinks, that, there are 9 members on the city council. All 9 members were elected by people. All 9 have different interests. Some of the interests overlap, but people have their own interests. They have their own constituencies. We had a motion that somebody brought in because they were the messenger just a few minutes ago. That they did that. Maybe somebody else wouldn't have been the messenger. They would get somebody else to do it. That's maybe not the best example, but the point is that people bring in the motions that they think are important. I don't really, and I think there's nothing the matter with that, and I think that should go on the way it is, and I don't think that it's really been an issue for the city or for the city manager or for anybody else in recent years. I also think that the motion is almost counterproductive, in that I think the spirit of the motion is to determine how much these motions cost the city. If a motion's filed, what does it cost in time and for the report and so forth? But what are we going to do? If the motion passes, then not only will the city manager's office have to do a report on the motion, but they'll then have to tally up how much time was spent on the motion and how much did each person get paid that spent any time on the motion. And I would suspect that probably there are a lot of motions where there's just not one person writing the report, but several people writing the report. So I don't really understand the point of the whole thing. And also, too, just as one of the 9 city councilors, I don't want to have to, when I file a motion, it's because I think, or either that it's important, or somebody else thinks it's important, and I'm doing it on their behalf. But I don't want to have to think to myself, well, how long is it going to take to do the report? How much is it going to cost? And I would point out that most of the people that are putting the reports together are doing it on salary. So even if there's no motions and no reports, everybody's getting paid the same amount of money that they're getting paid if they have to do reports for motions. I don't understand. I don't understand the point of this motion at all, and I will not be voting for it.
Councilor Cirillo?
Hi, yes. I agree with Councilor Milanazzo and Councilor Kennedy. And I feel that it's not our responsibility or our job as city councilors to basically micromanage the city manager and the people who work for her. it's our job to take care of our city and support our residents through our motions. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Councilor Newton.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I understand the spirit of the motion, to try to somewhat save money if possible. But, the concern I have is that with the report, respond to the motion is that what happened, when the report come and saying that certain council motion would take up too much time, do we then go on to restrict that person from, submitting motion, filing motion? And it may not be important to me, some motion, but it's important to the individual that brought it up, and they brought it up because of the constituent or residents and raised it up. So I'm just concerned where we go from here. I realize, I sympathize with the idea that, I want to save as much money as possible for the city, but at the same time, you might be stumble on somebody else as a councilor right to, bring about motion. That's my concern.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see this a little bit differently. I'm going to give it to you the way that I deal with it. At the end of the council term, the newspaper sometimes, they didn't do it last time, thank God they didn't, but they usually say, this city councilor had this many motions, this city council, and I usually would be right up there. If they would have done that last time, which they didn't, they would have said, what's wrong with Rita Mercia? She don't have hardly any motions at all. And that was because I picked up the phone and I called the assistant city manager, who at that time was Michael McGovern, and I said, this is a concern. I got this problem here with this one and this one. If I didn't do that, I would have a ton of motions on the agenda. And that's probably the point that counts. I can't speak for Dave Conway, but I can speak for myself, that I try to, this is my strategy. I try to do everything off the floor. And if it gets done, it never comes here. The only time I have a motion here is because, most of the time, it's because it's the last resort that I couldn't get anywhere. And I want it in black and white, and now I want it to be addressed. And that's just me. That's how I operate here. I'm not saying, I don't like to have to put an extra burden as to what are the hours that you spent doing it, or the time, or the money that it cost, because I don't want to put a price on these things, but I can see the point where a lot of times motions are here, all it takes is a phone call. I know that in violation of Section 107, we're not supposed to call and say, give an order, but we can do it if there's an emergency. I've done that twice this week. The motion didn't get on here, but I did, because I saw tragedy, and I wanted to divert that. And I'll tell you what it was. On South Street, there was a tree limb that went right across the street horizontally. I'd never noticed it there before, and I go that way quite a bit, but I stopped a cruiser, and I said to the police officer, what does that look like to you? He said, I never noticed that there before. That's a danger. I'm calling it in. Not only did he call it in, but I called it in because I thought it was I can just picture the winter coming, and it's loaded with heavy snow, and a car goes by and it goes through the car and kills someone. Or someone's going to the school up at the corner. Or someone's going swimming and somehow it breaks. I couldn't stand to see that, and I went by today, it's down. That was problem solved. And these are the things I try to do behind the scenes. Another incident is a body that was found and overdosed. And I checked it out with Susan LeMay, because you can call any department and ask questions, and I ask a heck of a lot of questions in here. And Susan LeMay said, what is the address? And I thought it was Summer Street, but it wasn't. It was actually Favor Street. And I asked who owned it, because whoever it was that owned it is responsible to clean up the high grass and weeds, which allows people to go in there and do drugs. It's the city of Lowell. Now, they need their hazmat gear to go in there now and trim it nice, because there's a man that lives next door, and he can't even enjoy his backyard because people are doing drugs and throwing needles in it. These are the things I do off the air. You don't see a motion for that. I don't know that I want to burden you with all this stuff, but this is my job, and this is an emergency, and I need it to be done. If it's not, I make a motion, and I think that's what Councilor Conway is trying to allude to, but I can't get into his mind. I don't know. That's how I do business, but thank you.
Okay. Yes, Councilor.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead. You have the floor.
Well, no, I understand the spirit of the motion. I think there's a lot of motions some week. I know there's a lot going on in the city. And it does take time for staff to produce these responses. Sometimes they're short, but sometimes, more often than not, they're lengthy. Maybe it's the spirit of the issue that if something can be solved with an email or a phone call that doesn't warrant a report, that should be the standard that we move towards, knowing there is so much going on. And I mean, you know, we meet every other week. We meet here for hours, and there's lots of motion. So I think it's important to recognize that all of us file motions sometimes because someone asks us to, or we come from a neighborhood organization that could meeting that could perhaps be solved a lot more easily. I know that I communicate with you, Madam Mayor, through emails when we get something or I need something that seems to work, rather than wait to get a report and a response. So I think it's that, the balance between what does warrant a discussion and what can be solved. And I know we're getting up against the 10 o'clock rule. So, that's my point. I understand that we're trying to just not bog down the manager and the staff, knowing that there are other priorities that, but again, it's subjective to every other individual council, as has been mentioned.
Just allow me to say, I understand the spirit of the motion, but the thing is, I think as councilors, we've all been judicious in our choice of what we're going to present to the city council. And I think sometimes, I don't want to give the city manager busy work to do. I want her just to be able to do her reports to us. And I don't want to think of us at any point saying, this is a very important motion, but it could be costly, or you just can't set a price on good government. So we'll have a roll call.
Council Noon.
No.
Mayor Samaras.
No.
Council Cirillo.
No.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
No.
Council Leahy.
No.
Council Mercier.
Yes and no, but yes and no, but I guess yes, but I didn't like the whole thing, but I guess I have to say yes.
Council Milonazo.
No.
4 yeas.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need a motion to extend the time. We haven't finished our motions.
Motion to extend the time beyond 10.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Council Leahy. Next,
I think we need a roll call.
a roll call to extend the session.
Who's the second on the motion?
Yes. Council Leahy.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
No.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercier.
No.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
No. Two, yes.
No.
Two kills it.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
2 fails, so we can
Yeah.
take up
Yeah.
on that.
So, yes, so adjourn.
The remaining motions on for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Under unfinished.
All right, remaining motions will go on for the next meeting. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Milonazo.